Yo creo que lo más difícil en la vida es gestionar el silencio.
Ahora,
ya podemos. Bueno, buenos días a todos. Como presidente del Instituto Europeo de Salud y Bienestar Social, les quiero dar la bienvenida a todos ustedes. Tenemos el grato honor de tener hoy en este salón de actos, yo creo que personas con un talento extraordinario, y entre ese talento tenemos la gran suerte del concejal de innovación, Ángel Niño, que es una persona con un entusiasmo enorme y una persona tremendamente, un motor de la innovación del Ayuntamiento de Madrid. Está con nosotros en esta mesa presidencial para inaugurar esta cumbre mundial de biostasis. También está con nosotros otra persona ilustrísima, que es el doctor Pedro Guillén, que es un catedrático de embriología y de anatomía de la Universidad Complutense, es uno de los traumatólogos del deporte mejores que ha tenido en España y mundiales, que ha curado a numerosos deportistas, y es otro gran innovador en terapias regenerativas que lleva aplicando desde hace numerosos años, y que gracias al doctor Guillén numerosos futbolistas han podido seguir en la competición porque él ha curado y regenerado numerosas rodillas. Gracias al doctor Pedro Guillén, al que admiro y quiero como gran amigo que es. También está Natalia. Natalia es una persona... Natasha es una persona muy conocida. Natasha Vitamor es una persona tremendamente conocida, es una sabia de los tratamientos de longevidad, es una gran conocedora del mundo de la biostasis, y por tanto, Natasha, bienvenida y gracias por estar también en esta mesa presidencial. Y, por supuesto, está también David Good, otro sabio de la longevidad y de los tratamientos innovadores. Se incorporará en nuestra mesa el profesor Ramón Tamames y Javier Cremades, que se retrasan 10 minutos. Quiero felicitar expresamente a José Luis Cordeiro, presidente del comité organizador de esta cumbre mundial, una cumbre mundial que José Luis lleva trabajando en ella, dando la vuelta al mundo por distintos países para traerla a España. Por tanto, creo que aquí hay dos hitos históricos. Uno, que José Luis Cordeiro haya conseguido traer esta cumbre a España es algo que tenemos que agradecerle todos. Y, por supuesto, esta cumbre se ha celebrado ya en otros países, como en Berlín, se ha celebrado en Helsinki, se ha celebrado en Bruselas, se ha celebrado en Caracas, es decir, ya se ha celebrado en otros países, y además tenemos hoy la oportunidad de trasladar este conocimiento a través de streaming, que lo está viendo en distintos países del mundo. Por tanto, creo que es una gran oportunidad la que ha generado José Luis Cordeiro en este foro, que lo que pretende son tres objetivos esenciales. En primer lugar, José Luis ha conseguido contar con ilustres juristas y letrados que nos van a permitir debatir sobre el futuro marco regulatorio. Todo esto que estamos hoy viendo y aplicando necesita un marco regulatorio que se va a debatir. También en este foro vamos a poder conocer las experiencias con los protocolos y procedimientos que ya se utilizan en otros centros grandes y reconocidos de criopreservación, como el que hay en Estados Unidos, como los dos que hay en Rusia, como el que acaba de nacer en Zúrich, como el que se está creando en China, en Australia, es decir, ya hay varios, y en Alemania, hay varios países que han creado centros de criopreservación. Y José Luis, te felicito porque creo que hoy ha sido una idea francamente admirable por tu parte, que pretendas trasladar al mundo, no solo a España, sino al mundo, el conocimiento y esas buenas prácticas que ya se están realizando en esos centros de criopreservación de biostasis, donde ya hay 500 personas criopreservadas en el mundo. Y otra de las grandes genialidades que ha tenido José Luis Cordeiro es haber logrado algo inédito, y es traer la única de las 4 ambulancias que existen en Europa, la ambulancia de la criopreservación, la ha traído a España, la vamos a poder conocer. Está con nosotros Jeff Koff, al cual quiero felicitar expresamente, que ha hecho un trabajo extraordinario para acompañarnos estos 2 días aquí y darnos a conocer cómo funcionan los protocolos, los procedimientos de esa ambulancia, que tiene unos recursos tecnológicos súper innovadores. Uno de los grandes recursos es ese robot que ustedes ven ahí, que es un masaje cardíaco, se llama Lucas, y tiene otro que se llama el Corpuls, y el Corpuls te permite dar un masaje cardíaco durante 1 hora. Con nuestras manos nos podemos cansar, pero ellos no se cansan nunca. Con lo cual ese robot ya se utiliza no solo en estas ambulancias de criopreservación, sino en Lucas también se está utilizando en numerosos hospitales. Por tanto, creo que estos temas que vamos a debatir con temas reales, viendo una ambulancia, y con personas como Over the Grey, que nos va a explicar una vez más cuáles son los tratamientos innovadores para conocer las dos opciones que tenemos. Las dos opciones indudablemente van a ser la primera, que como dice José Luis, alargar la vida, que es alargar la calidad de vida y la esperanza de vida. Es decir, si en 1900 vivíamos 30 años y hoy vivimos 86, de una manera aritmética viviremos más. Pero si conocemos los tratamientos innovadores para aumentar la esperanza de vida, lógicamente viviremos más y sobre todo con más calidad de vida. Pero la segunda opción, el plan B, que José Luis explicará mucho mejor, será la criopreservación. Por tanto, yo sin más quiero felicitar a José Luis, quiero felicitar a todos los expertos que van a participar en este foro, darle las gracias por trasladarnos su conocimiento. Quiero felicitar expresamente a todas las autoridades que están hoy en nuestra mesa y le voy a ceder la palabra a Ángel Niño, concejal de Innovación, por el cual tengo una especial admiración, porque creo que lo más importante en la vida es tener entusiasmo por las cosas, y Ángel Niño tiene entusiasmo y es un motor de ese entusiasmo, y por tanto te cedo la palabra para que nos des el discurso inaugural. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, en primer lugar, buenos días. Muchísimas gracias al Instituto Europeo de Salud y Bienestar Social, muchísimas gracias a TransVision y muchísimas gracias de nuevo a José Luis Cordeiro por una vez más realizar TransVision en la Ciudad de Madrid. Creo que es importante que la Ciudad de Madrid atraiga todo tipo de eventos tecnológicos, sobre todo en el ámbito de la innovación, y por supuesto yo creo que este ámbito también es importante para la Ciudad de Madrid, porque tenemos que tener claro uno de los puntos más importantes que existe en esta sociedad en la que vivimos. Vivimos en continuo cambio, y en el mundo hay dos tipos de personas: las que aceptan el cambio, las que les gusta el cambio, las que tienen entusiasmo por el cambio, las que tienen entusiasmo por un futuro mejor para todos los habitantes de las ciudades y por supuesto del mundo, y las que prefieren quedarse estancados y que nada cambie. Yo creo que todos los que estamos aquí somos personas que nos gusta y aceptamos y entendemos el cambio, pero en este cambio y este tipo de personas tenemos una gran responsabilidad. Una gran responsabilidad en la cual José Luis hace un gran trabajo, y yo espero también trabajar en ese sentido, y es la divulgación de lo que se está haciendo. Tenemos que tener claro que muchísimas personas que hoy nos están viendo, o muchísimas personas que han estado viendo a José Luis estos días en los diferentes canales de televisión, no tienen por qué conocer qué es la criopreservación, no tienen por qué conocer cuáles son los tratamientos del futuro o cuáles son los tratamientos del presente que nos van a llevar a que en el futuro vivamos más de 100 años, incluso más de 120, 130 que dicen algunos estudios, aunque yo sé que mi amigo José Luis es de los que cree que vamos a vivir muchísimo más. Yo soy un poco más precavido en este sentido, pero sí que la realidad es que debemos y tenemos la obligación de hablar y explicar a todas las personas que no conocen todo este tipo de tratamientos lo que se está haciendo en todos los países, y cuando digo en todos los países es en gran parte de los países del mundo, porque como bien hablaba con el doctor antes, hay muchos países en los que ya hay gente que está criopreservada. Hay países como Suiza que ya están trabajando en la inauguración de una clínica en este sentido. En Estados Unidos ya llevan tiempo, en China también llevan tiempo. Tenemos que entender que es algo que ya existe, que existe en el presente, que no es la ciencia ficción que leíamos hace 10, 15 años en algunos libros acerca de cómo nos despertaríamos en otros planetas muy alejados a muchos años luz, porque podríamos haber estado criopreservados en esas naves de conquista espacial. La realidad es que esto ya está aquí. La realidad es que hay personas que ya han decidido criopreservarse para conocer un futuro o para poder tratar enfermedades en el futuro que a día de hoy no se tienen. Y nosotros tenemos esa gran responsabilidad de divulgar y expresar, y sobre todo, no hablo de convencer, porque convencer es algo muy difícil y que lleva mucho esfuerzo, sino de que la gente conozca lo que está pasando. Y por tanto, haber traído este congreso aquí, haber traído este TransVision acerca de la criopreservación aquí, y sobre todo haber traído esa ambulancia que ya demuestra que lo que hablamos es real, que lo que hablamos es tangible y que lo que hablamos ya se puede tocar, es uno de los grandes aciertos. Esta era mi primera enhorabuena. Y luego una pequeña reflexión que me gustaría compartir con todos ustedes. La realidad es que vivimos en un mundo que está cambiando constantemente. Vivimos en un mundo en el cual hace aproximadamente un año una de las personas más ricas del mundo dijo que iba a lanzar el metaverso, y a partir de ahí todo el mundo se convirtió en expertos en metaverso. Todo el mundo empezó a hablar acerca de cómo iban a cambiar nuestros hábitos en relación con la tecnología, con las personas y, por cierto, con las inteligencias artificiales, algo de lo que no se habla tanto, y les invito también a investigar. Y todo el mundo habló. Un año después parece que no ha llegado esa revolución, pero es que tampoco iba a llegar. Tampoco iba a llegar en un año. Llegará dentro de 3, 5, 10 años, por supuesto que llegará, pero requiere tiempo. Pero sí que es cierto que ya se puso en el debate cómo iban a ser nuestros trabajos del futuro, cómo iba a ser nuestra forma de vivir del futuro. En el ámbito tecnológico, en el ámbito que yo más conozco, que es el ámbito de la informática, el ámbito digital, es muy fácil aceptar este tipo de cambios. De hecho, yo creo que muchos de ustedes que escucharon hablar del metaverso dijeron como, es posible, puede que no llegue hoy, pero es posible que llegue. Pero, sin embargo, en el ámbito de ciencias de la salud, un ámbito en el que, por cierto, se lleva innovando a lo largo de la historia del ser humano, no es tan fácil explicar, y no es tan fácil que las personas, y sobre todo que los marcos regulatorios, y esto es importante, que los marcos regulatorios de los diferentes países, incluso de los diferentes continentes, trabajen en líneas similares. Por eso yo creo que mostrar al gran público, mostrar a todas las personas, independientemente de sus conocimientos, lo que está pasando en países que están más avanzados es fundamental. Y en esta línea es en la que tenemos que trabajar. Tenemos que trabajar en una línea en la que los marcos regulatorios, no digo que avancen siendo los primeros del mundo, que a mí me encantaría como innovador que soy, pero entiendo que muchas personas no tienen esa sensibilidad, pero sí que avancen o al menos exploren posibilidades de hacer pequeñas pruebas de concepto. Si ya estamos hablando de hacer pruebas de concepto en diferentes países acerca de todo tipo de terapias, también estamos hablando de hacer pruebas de concepto con diferentes artilugios, por llamarlo de algún modo, que van a cambiar nuestra forma de vivir en el futuro. Pues también debemos pensar cómo trabajar en marcos regulatorios que permitan no quedarnos atrás una vez más, porque, y al final, y esto es importante, al final la innovación tiene un punto bastante destacable, y es que el primero que llega es el que la suele monetizar y capitalizar. Por eso también debemos ser lo suficientemente inteligentes para que Madrid, una ciudad que está en auge, una ciudad que está de moda, una ciudad que está trayendo innovación de todas las partes del mundo, sea también capaz de atraer todo tipo de tecnología en el ámbito de la innovación de la salud, para que desde aquí, desde Madrid, podamos ser capaces de crear un futuro mejor, tanto en el metaverso como en el mundo real. Muchísimas gracias y enhorabuena de nuevo por este congreso.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias, Ángel Niño, concejal, por esa fuerza innata que tienes y esos ánimos que nos das. Se ha incorporado con nosotros también el letrado muy reconocido y muy querido Javier Cremades. Bienvenido y muchas gracias por estar con nuestro foro. Bueno, a continuación tiene la palabra el piloto de Fórmula 1, José Luis Cordeiro, como presidente del comité organizador.
Está bien allá. Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias. Well, first of all, I will switch now to English because we are streaming live internationally. And I want to talk about what we're going to be doing here for the next 2 days. Manuel, hay que bajar el botón. We are going to be doing practical and theoretical things. The theoretical things, obviously, we are beginning with some of them now, but then the important thing is the practical issues. So we have a Spanish community interested in cryonics. So we will have practical activities today and tomorrow, both days. Actually, we changed the name of the conference. Originally, it was going to be, as you can see, Cryonics. But now we are beginning to use all over Europe the word biostasis. Biostasis is a more comprehensive word. Biostasis includes cryopreservation, includes vitrification, includes plastination, includes persuflation, which is a new thing, and also hibernation. So all these things are new, and they are encompassed in the more global term of biostasis. So we are not using anymore cryonics, even though we understand what cryonics is, and cryonics is a very specific type of biostasis, but we prefer to use the more broader term, which is being used now, as I said before, in Europe. Anyway, because life is beautiful, and I love Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin has fantastic phrases for everything. One of those is, as you probably know, in this world nothing can be said to be certain except for death and taxes. And actually, I disagree with that. I think death will be conquered, and also taxes. We are also going to have some fun. We have a cocktail today and tomorrow. And Benjamin Franklin has another fantastic phrase. In wine, there is freedom. In wine there is wisdom. In beer, there is freedom. And in water, there is bacteria. So you understand what you need to be drinking. For the lunch, all of you, of course, are invited to come to the lunch. It will be just across the street in a beautiful restaurant across the Fountain of Dolphins. So all of us will be having lunch there together. And I recommend wine and beer, not water. Also, Woody Allen said this fantastic phrase, I don't want to be immortal through my works. I want to be immortal by not dying. It's very clear what we want. I am an engineer from MIT, but now I have moved slowly into longevity, and even more what I say, plan A and plan B. Plan A, I think, is longevity, and plan B is cryonics. So 5 years ago, with my fantastic co-author that you can recognize because he's wearing the same tie as I am wearing, we decided to write a book about the most important issue in humanity, which is not COVID, which is not the Russians, which is not wars, which is not terrorism. The most important issue on humanity is aging and death. In Spain, 90% of the people die of age-related diseases. In Spain, or in Europe, or in the USA, we do not die of wars, of terrorism, or climate change. We die of aging. And now we know we are very close to curing it. When David and I published our book in Spanish, it was #1 and #5 best-selling book in Spain. We are donating all the money, all the royalties to 2 foundations, one here in Spain, Apadrina la Ciencia, which is led by scientists from the National Science Foundation of Spain, Consejo Superior de Investigaciones Científicas, and also with a foundation in California, Sense Research Foundation. Our book now is in 8 languages, and it will be coming out in 8 more languages next year. But this is happening all over the world. As you probably know, all the big companies are moving into longevity. My dear friend Ray Kurzweil has been talking for this for a long time, and he is publishing a new book next year called The Singularity is Nearer. And he ratifies again, like for almost 40 years, that we will reach the technological singularity and biological immortality by 2045. But again, we are going to be talking more about cryonics, but again, we believe in longevity. Plan B, as I mentioned, is cryonics. When this began also, this was impossible. People laughed at it. People didn't think in vitro fertilization would work. But now we have 8 million human beings that have been born thanks to cryonics, thanks to in vitro fertilization of frozen embryos, frozen eggs, or frozen sperm. And this is moving into other areas, including full-body humans. And there are many controversies, legal controversies. Like you can read this one in the United Kingdom. A baby was born from an embryo frozen 20 years ago, which is really incredible. And the second baby that the same woman had, the embryo that she inserted into herself was older than she was. The baby was conceived earlier than the age of the woman. So these are important legal issues. What is going to happen with all of this? My dear Professor Marvin Minsky at MIT, he is cryonically suspended in Alcor, and many other people. Leaders in this area of longevity and cryonics like Aubrey de Grey, he's actually arriving this afternoon because the wife of a friend of him died, and they have a funeral service in London. So he will be arriving later today, and he will be opening the sessions tomorrow. He believes also in Plan A and Plan B. He works on longevity, but he is also a member of Alcor Life Extension Foundation, so he will be talking about that tomorrow. He was ridiculed by MIT, my alma mater, in 2005. He was called a charlatan. He was said that all of this about longevity, rejuvenation was impossible by MIT. 14 years later, MIT said that Aubrey was right, that actually old age is over if you want it. I like to emphasize, like Arthur Schopenhauer said, the German philosopher, all truth goes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. I am looking forward to the year 2045, when we see back to today, and we will remember how primitive we were today, that we let people die. This is barbaric that we let people die. Anyway, legal systems have to be changed, and we are going to have several lawyers. In fact, in this conference, we have 5 lawyers. I'm very happy to have 5 lawyers talking about different legal systems and how this relates to cryonics and all these issues of longevity. For example, this British girl died when she was 14 in the United Kingdom, and she wanted to be cryonically suspended, and her father said no. So she went to court, and she won. And she's now cryonically suspended. I think this is a very important legal case for our lawyers here. So more things will keep on happening. Now Spain has approved a law of death with dignity that also allows to do this easier. And we have a Spanish lawyer that arrived from Barcelona, Jordi Sandalinas, that has a petition at the European level. And he has incredible news in 1 hour for all of you. News from the European Union about cryonics. So my goal is to move Spain from what it was 600 years ago, or from the time of the Roman Empire. This was the country of non plus ultra, because Spain was the end of the known world, according to the Romans. So we were the country of non plus ultra. Now, we are the country of plus ultra, the country of far beyond. But I want to change that to the country of vita plus ultra, the country of life far beyond. And we have incredible potential to do all of these things. We have had traditionally 2 systems when people die. The first one, burials. Then cremation was invented. Now we are proposing the only system that can actually give you the chance, the opportunity to be reanimated in the future, which is cryonics, or other systems of biostasis. Remember, I mentioned 5 different types of biostasis that we are experiencing, discovering, developing. Ben Best, one of our speakers, he has written the most incredible comparison of cryonics institutions. He is going to give us the updated results, I hope, because he is fantastic. He has all the institutions, when they were created, what they do, where they are, what type of systems they use, the number of patients, the number of members. This is fundamental. We need to know how many members, how many patients, and if they do whole body, if they do neuro, how much does it cost? And I have personally visited most of these cryonics institutions in the world. Alcor, I have been a couple of times in Alcor. Actually, I even made a program for Spanish TV in Alcor. And Alcor actually has 2 Spanish patients. We have 4 Spanish patients cryonically suspended, 2 in the USA, in Alcor, 1 in Germany, and 1 in Russia. That is why we also want to know the situation in Russia, in Germany, in the United States. The second largest institute probably is Cryonics Institute in Detroit, Michigan. They also have many members, including many Spanish members still alive, not cryonically suspended. And then we have CryoRus. I've been there with my friend Danila Medvedev. We also have another 2 Russians here. We will be talking to them as well. They have several pets as well. Let me tell you, two animals, two cats were cryonically suspended this year in Spain, here in Madrid. And these institutions have many pets cryonically suspended. There is also a new center in Miami, Osiris Back to Life. So this is important. And now, even in China there is a center that has already 12 patients. And legally, this is very important because Mao Zedong, during the Communist Revolution, he ordered that all Chinese had to be cremated at death. And they have made an exception for cryonics in China. So this is very important legal issue. Also, for those of you who don't know, cremation was also forbidden in Spain 40 years ago. There was no cremation in Spain 40 years ago. And now it is the most widely used system in Spain. More than half of the people who die are cremated. But that is horrible. That is horrible, like burial is horrible. We need to move into cryonics. And now we have tomorrow Biostasis that has been created in Zurich. Well, the company is in Berlin, and the foundation is in Zurich. We had the pleasure to be there, some of us here. And European Biostasis Foundation in Zurich is led by a German medical doctor. It is a fantastic place also. We fully support that has just been opened in Zurich, the financial capital of Zurich. And we have a new center also being opening in Australia, Southern Cryonics. So this is happening around the world. We have China, we have Australia, we have Switzerland, and we will have more and more places opening facilities hopefully soon in the future. Of course, we cannot guarantee anything, and there are other techniques. Even a friend from MIT, very famous young scientist, Robert McIntyre, with a new technology. And there are many different things happening here, many different international groups like ICE. ICE is International Cryomedicine Experts. They fly into any country and get any patients to be relocated to Alcor or other places. We also have in the USA suspended animation with two headquarters, one in Florida to cover the East Coast and one in California to cover the West Coast. In the United Kingdom, we have Cryonics UK, and they have an ambulance, but not as beautiful as the ambulance we have here. You have to see this ambulance. This is the most modern ambulance of all of Netherlands. In the Netherlands, there is not such an ambulance, except for the one that is now in Madrid, which, by the way, cost $600,000, that ambulance, especially designed by Mercedes-Benz with the latest equipment. We have had different teams, and I like to make fun that in Spain we have 3.5 Spanish cryonically suspended. And 2 cats this year, by the way, 2 cats cryonically suspended. But humans, we have 3.5. When people ask me why 3.5, they say, is it 3 full bodies and 1 neuro? And I say, well, yes. But also partially because of another reason. 3 were mostly fully Spanish, and 1 was kind of French, kind of Spanish, but the operation was led from Barcelona, from Spain. So I count him as Spanish. And because his family lives in Spain, I count him as Spanish, even though I have to admit he is kind of French also. And he died in the Pyrenees, which is the border between Spain and France. There is also a fraud in Spain. We need to avoid all these frauds. There is a delinquent group in Valencia, in Requena, with a fake operation. So we need to stop this. This is normal. When technologies begin, there are frauds. So we need to be ready for frauds. And we have to position science, first of all, and legality. That is why we have lawyers and we have scientists here, because this has to be scientific and this has to be legal. This is Eulalia Castillejo, who actually had the tragedy of losing her daughter. That was the first patient cryonically suspended in Spain, and she could be taken out of Spain because she had actually been born in Australia. So she had dual citizenship, and this is also a legal issue, because right now, under Spanish law, a Spanish body cannot be taken out of the country. So because she had also Australian citizenship, she could be flown into Alcor in the USA. The second patient was actually her mother-in-law, but because it was a time death, she actually moved into Arizona to be in a hospice when she died and was cryonically suspended in Alcor. I coordinated with some friends here, like Sergio Terrero, who is here, Alejandro Sacristan, who is here, and other friends. We coordinated the cryonics suspension of a dear friend of ours who was leading the cryonics movement in Spain, Javier Ruiz Alvarez, and he died the 10th of February of 2016, and now he's cryonically suspended in a small facility in Germany, in Dresden. So now he has a very cool life. We have also helped the first cryonic suspension in Argentina with our friend Maria Entraigues. She cryonically suspended her mother, the first patient from South America. And we have been working with all these cryonics groups internationally. In Switzerland, where again, now we are happy, we have the first cryonics facility in Western Europe that was started basically the plans at this conference. We have organized other conferences in Spain in 2017 talking about this. We did this at the National Science Foundation of Spain, the Consejo Superior de Investigaciones Científicas, and also we went to the business school to talk about these opportunities. Then we went to Utrecht. We went to the Netherlands. We were also with Jappy. He didn't have the ambulance there yet. And we have been doing more things, even with robots and so on. And we have been participating in Zurich conferences, which are called Biostasis conferences. So anyway, the latest one was just last month. We also had a training conference in Gothenburg in Sweden, where we decided to do this other one. In Gothenburg, we only had 13 people. I am excited and happy to tell you that we have in person 60 people, and we are broadcasting internationally. So this is a real honor for us that we went from 13 people in Gothenburg to many more people now. We are also supporting the open letter on cryonics, validated by scientists who are working on this area and who know that this is true, that this is real, that this is true. Anyway, there is a lot of research happening on this. One of our scientists, a Spanish scientist, Ramon Risco, who has been working on this in Seville, and one of my students from Singularity University, he created the Organ Preservation Alliance. And I am very happy and very excited to tell you that NASA and the Department of Defense of the USA is funding this initiative in the USA. NASA and the Department of Defense. So even if people are not aware of that in Spain, this is real, this is happening. We have the book of a friend of mine called The Affordable Immortal, and we have translated it thanks to a couple of friends from us here. We translated at Buscando Inmortalidad, La Inmortalidad, and here with Natasha Vitamur, we were in New York launching the most incredible book, which I call the Bible of Cryonics. This is the Bible of Cryonics. It has all the information at Cryonics Revival, and we launched this in New York. I'm with Max Moore and with Natasha, who designed the beautiful cover, by the way. She did this. And the preface of this book is by Greg Fay, who invented the vitrification process that is used by humans in vitro fertilization. So we are really excited to have all of you here. Welcome to Madrid. We will move now from burial, cremation to cryonics. So welcome to Madrid, and let's begin with the panel. Thank you. Sí. Okay, so please, Dr. Guillén, Dr. Cremades, and Ramón Tamames is arriving. Please sit here.
Congratulations a José Luis Cordeiro por el excelente discurso. Se va precipitadamente porque tiene Europa Press esperándoles de hace un rato. Presento ya a Pedro Guillén y a Javier Cremades. Bueno, a continuación, yo creo que ha sido excelente, rápido y conciso, pero el trabajo que está haciendo José Luis yo creo que nos da motivos suficientes para al menos pasar de los 120 años. Después Dios dirá. A continuación, me agrada presentar, ya lo he mencionado antes, al doctor Pedro Guillén. Es una verdadera institución en España como traumatólogo del deporte, como catedrático de embriología y de anatomía de la Complutense y sobre todo como una gran autoridad en el mundo del deporte, en el mundo de la medicina, como auténtico sabio y como verdaderamente un referente internacional.
No, están ahí, déjame. No, termina. Es que tengo que dejarlo también corriendo.
Muy bien. Entonces, antes de darle la palabra, José Luis Cordeiro quiere comentar alguna cosa, ¿no?
No, bueno, comenzar, sí. Okay, we are still waiting for the most read economist in Spain and one, probably the last living signatory of the Spanish Constitution. As you know, Spain was a dictatorship until 1975-76 when Franco died. And then there was a new constitution in 1978. Dr. Ramón Tamames signed that constitution. He's 89. He's the oldest person that will be accompanying us. He's just arriving, so he will be sitting at the middle as the most important Spanish economist and signatory of the constitution of the country. But we have an incredible panel here, and I have a set of questions for them. So I want to ask a question and begin listening to them while we wait our economist. So, as you know, Javier Cremades is one of the chief lawyers of all of Spain. I have had the pleasure to know him for several years because he also supports the Venezuelan cause. And I don't know if you know, but Venezuela has 7 million refugees. A quarter of the population of Venezuela has had to leave. I was born in Venezuela, even though I'm Spanish. So to me, the cause of Venezuela is also important. He supports that cause, so I actually admire him for that as well, besides being a fantastic lawyer, of course. And he's a lawyer interested in technology, which is fantastic, an expert on technology. Then we have one of the best medical doctors of Spain, Pedro Guillén. And here we have the top economist of Spain. This way. Aquí. Venga, sí. En inglés, sí. Para que practique.
Un amigo mío.
Súbase por acá.
Muy bien. Cuidado que está todo jodido de escalones.
Claro. Agárrese de mí.
Ya.
En el medio.
Doctor Guillén, mi médico preferido. Tú estás todo larguizo.
Claro. Sí, yo pienso.
Lamento llegar tan tarde, perdone.
Ya.
Saludos a todos.
Tienes que checar los micrófonos que estén con el Sergio, que estén conectados. Okay, so I was just presenting Don Ramon. I was just presenting all the panelists, and then I will go for some questions to this panel. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, and then we have an incredible scientist and many things. She's also an artist, even though she says, oh, I did that 40 years ago. Well, that doesn't matter, Natasha, because we are going to be living indefinitely here. So anyway, she will have a fantastic presentation in the afternoon about her experiments with another Spanish young guy who is sitting in the back, Daniel Barranco. They actually proved for the first time in human history that after cryonics, you keep your memories. Well, they did it for worms, but that's a beginning, right? Okay, and then my fantastic co-author, David Good, who arrived from London. So we have a really fantastic people. So, okay, I am supposed to moderate. I have 5 questions for all of them, but I want Dr. Tamames, and because of seniority, okay? Because of seniority, Don Ramón Tamames, he is wisdom, he is wine. Remember Benjamin Franklin? In wine there is wisdom. And then the fantastic Dr. Pedro Guillén. So I want them each to talk 5 minutes to put this in context, also because Don Ramón Tamames and I have been talking at least for 10 years about cryonics. So he is an expert on cryonics now. So I want him for seniority to speak 5 minutes. Then Dr. Pedro Guillén, 5 minutes, and then I'll come back because I need 10 minutes with Europa Press now, interview. And then I have my questions, okay, for the panel. So, Don Ramón Tamames, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Well, Well, thank you very much. I arrived yesterday to Madrid very late in the night, and that was the reason because of which I was not well prepared to come here very early in the morning. I apologize again, and I thank you very much to Dr. Cordeiro for his introducing me at the beginning of these conversations we are going to have today. I am not a transhumanist. I make this statement at the beginning so that it is clear that I am not very much worried about the longevity and the span of life in the human persons. I am much more worried about the personal life, the things we have in the old age. I am already in old age. Next year I will be 90 years old. And I prefer to refer to these personal questions. That is to say, it is much better to live with a good life than to live very long with a very problematic living, with illness and all kinds of difficulties because of inactivity and less capacity to act in the society. I am much more worried because of the general framework. Today, especially because of COP27 in the Mount Sinai in Egypt. They are discussing the situation of the planet. I prefer to refer to the planet. The planet is ill. It is contaminated by all these gases belonging to the greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect, this is very problematic for mankind. You know that if we go 5 degrees further in the Celsius thermometer, probably the way we live now in the Earth will change radically. And this is the real problem we have today. Not so much personal longevity for personal aims and elitist aims, more than quality of life and distribution of income and distribution of knowledge and so on. This is my personal position. To Mr. Cordeiro, we have discussed many times. It is much better to have a good life with knowledge, with science and so on. I know it is not against one and the other positions, they are not against, but the preference for the personal longevity includes some kind of egoist feeling. That is to say, the personal development of my own life, not the life of mankind. And so many people who are in the underdeveloped countries with so few good living conditions. I think this is the main position I defend here today. More attention to the conditions of the planet, especially global warming and climatic change. This is going to be the principal problem of mankind in the next years, much more than the pandemic or the economic crisis and so on. You know, to live today in New Delhi is impossible. Diplomatic career in all countries say that they are not going to stay in New Delhi more than 2 years because it's a real problem even for human life. With 50 degrees temperature, with contamination of air, with all kinds of gases and so on. It is impossible also to live now in some parts of the Caribbean area because of extremities in climatic conditions also, all kind of problems. Hurricane, this belongs to the Taínos, the original tribe of Indians in the Spanish discoveries in America at the beginning of at the end of the 14th century. Taínos called the spirit of against human huracán, and the huracán is the word that has been kept to denominate, let us say, the worst enemy of people there in this part of the world. Well, nothing more else, unless you want some clarifications and answer to me personally, in the time it corresponds to me to answer you, to participate in the common discussing of the topics you have signaled for today. Thank you very much to Mr. Cordeiro and Dr. Peña for his hospitality. Thank you.
Bueno, como José Luis está en la entrevista Europa Press, muchísimas gracias al profesor Tamames, que nos encanta escuchar siempre sus criterios y sobre todo su gran sentido común. Muchísimas gracias, profesor. Y a continuación tiene la palabra el doctor Pedro Guillén, que ya lo he presentado antes. Muchísimas gracias, Pedro. Tienes la palabra.
Que para salir un cojo de gana. Bueno, buenos días. Yo les voy a hablar en español. Buenos días. Muchas gracias, José Cordeiro.
Más alto y más cerca. Acércate.
Make sure it's on.
Y darle más fuerza.
Más alto.
Sí, se lo subimos ahora, no se preocupe. Un segundo.
Bien. Yo, primero, me siento muy feliz en una presentación de mi amigo don Ramón Tamames. Tamames es un prestigioso nombre en la medicina y él lo ha hecho prestigioso él mismo en la sabiduría, en la literatura, y le admiro profundamente. Y tengo el honor de que él me acompañó en mi ingreso en la Real Academia Nacional de Medicina de España y en otras cosas. Miren, yo fui primero profesor de la Universidad Complutense de Madrid de embriología y anatomía humana, donde está la tercera embrioteca más grande del mundo, que fundó Horst Yorka, uno de los mejores embriólogos del mundo. Y siempre he estado con los embrios, con los fetos y con los muertos de anatomía. Y me olía muy mal el formol, a mí me sentaba muy mal. Luego ya viré a la cirugía traumatológica y ahora estamos en investigación esencialmente. Miren, en el año 1996 apliqué yo las primeras células vivas, cultivadas y conservadas en criopreservación. 1996. Nosotros creemos que la célula aislada, cell isolated, tú la puedes conservar. Pero cuando es un tejido entero o es un órgano entero, los grandes problemas que plantea es la cristalización del líquido que acompaña al órgano. Nosotros tenemos en nuestra clínica la cifra más alta del mundo de aplicación de cultivos celulares de condrocitos en lesiones cartilaginosas, con criopreservación. Y yo les invito a que vengan a la Clínica Centro y vean la sala blanca estéril, que recibimos células continuamente de cartílago. Y le voy a decir, ¿qué hacemos? Nos mandan unos trozos de cartílago, separamos las células del tejido fundamental en que están y esas células las conservamos en criopreservación a 196 grados. Y le añadimos el DMSO. Es una terminología, querido Ramón, muy extraño, pero que es el producto que evita la cristalización del agua que llevan las células. Eso lo hacemos todos los días porque tenemos 4 biólogos haciéndolo. Todos los días, no eso. Y esas células las conservamos y están ahí. Y cuando el cirujano dice que aquella lesión del cartílago del paciente ya se puede aplicar, entonces las extraemos de ahí, otra vez, yo diría, las resucitamos a su función, la célula sola, la subimos a 36 grados, yo tengo todos los datos y este libro lo tenemos publicado en el año 2013 sobre esto, en inglés, y entonces creamos 40 millones de células y creamos un tejido y le damos al cirujano 40 millones de las células de ese paciente autólogas, que es lo que yo creo, el autólogo, mis células que yo multiplico y divido y las aplico. Ahora tenemos otro viraje, querido Ramón, que es con Altos Labs. Yo les recomiendo que lean Altos Labs. Altos, el LABS. Nosotros tenemos un convenio de investigación de trabajo con Altos Labs y estamos haciendo rejuvenecer tejidos. Es otra visión del concepto, que no va en contra de uno ni otro, sino se suman. Y en nuestra aplicación, que tenemos más de 1000 casos de cultivos de células aplicadas después de crioconservados, y tenemos algunas de más de 20 años esperando, en algunos deportistas de élite, hace una cirugía menor, tomas células, sabes que se va a lesionar algún día y las guardas y las tenemos para ser aplicadas en cualquier momento. Bien, pues ahora el viraje que estamos dando, querido José Luis, es el siguiente. En contacto con el grupo Altos Labs, que hemos firmado un convenio y que yo les invito, si quieren, a la Clínica Centro que lo vean. Miren, mi gen y el gen de mi nieto. Mi gen es un gen que tiene muchas cicatrices, muchas pisadas, muchas lesiones, que es lo que yo le da en la vida desde que me lo regaló mis padres. Ese gen tiene una marca epigenética, que es lo que hay alrededor, la marca epigenética, es decir, yo soy yo y mis circunstancias, dijo aquel sabio español. Mi gen entonces es la limpieza con que lo recibí y la suma de todas las cicatrices, si he sido drogadicto, si he sido bebedor, y se han sumado. Y el de mi nieto es un gen limpio. El concepto del grupo Altos Labs al cual pertenecemos es que queremos devolver mi gen, quitándole todo el epigen, volver al gen que él sabía defenderse muy bien. No me van a quitar años de vida. Mi gen sigue teniendo mi edad. Lo que se hace al gen es quitar el epigen, las cicatrices, los daños, las pisadas que mi gen yo he condicionado. Y entonces ese gen sabrá defenderse. En el ataque último que de la pandemia, ¿quién ha muerto? La mayoría de las personas mayores, porque su gen estaba cargado de pisadas y no sabía defenderse. Por tanto, en el viraje que es tan digno y tan bueno y tan malo como el de mi amigo, que él conserva el cuerpo entero, y yo que he sido catedrático de anatomía, cuando veo un muerto así, no me gusta acercarme por si huele a formol, que me sentaba muy mal. Bien, pues nosotros lo que hacemos es la otra parte, rejuvenecer tejidos. Es decir, sí que estoy seguro, y lo hemos logrado en animales que tienen progeria, hemos logrado aplicar sustancias y volverlos jóvenes. Publicación que está en la revista Nature y otra en la revista Cell. Es decir, nuestro trabajo está en el gen dañado por los años o por las circunstancias de enfermedad, limpiarlo de aquellas manchas para que ese se vuelva más joven. Y esto está tan en boga como que hay ahora mismo un centro enorme de investigación en San Diego, otro en San Francisco, otro en Cambridge, otro en Tokio, y yo quiero hacer una hora aquí con Alcor Labs, que hemos firmado el convenio, en el cual queremos rejuvenecer tejidos, queremos devolverle las capacidades de defensa que él ha perdido porque el gen lo ha negado. Esto es muy claro el concepto. Quiero devolverte lo que te ha robado el tiempo, la enfermedad o el deterioro. Es decir, yo quiero quitarte tu epigen y dejarte el gen limpio. No vas a ser un gen joven, no, vas a ser un gen limpio con la edad que tiene. Por tanto, yo termino diciendo que queremos morir joven lo más tarde posible. Muchas gracias.
Okay, Dr. Pedro Guillén, fantastic presentation, and for those who might not have followed, he was one of the organizers of the award that was given here in Madrid to the Nobel Prize, Shinya Yamanaka. Actually, we had the pleasure to have dinner together with Shinya Yamanaka and also with the president of Altos Labs. We were with the president of Altos Labs and 3 of their scientists. Juan Carlos Ispizua Belmonte was at the dinner with us. He also got a prize from the Royal Academy of Medicine of Spain. And Dr. Pedro Guillén was leading that ceremony and that fantastic dinner. Not every night you have dinner with a Nobel laureate. And with the top management of Altos Labs. And he said something really important, Manuel. He said he wants to have the 5th center here in Madrid. Where is our concejal? Ángel Niño? Oh, okay. No, he leads. We had the concejal of Innovation Madrid. He has to talk to you. We need to have this center in Madrid. Anyway, so now that we have these 2 fantastic presentations, I have some questions so that we make this more entertainment. Now I will begin with the English side, beginning all the way there with my fantastic co-author, actually, because he gave me the inspiration for these questions as well, which were checked by Natasha, and also I shared with all of you. Anyway, so David, I will begin with you, and let's move this way. Okay, so do you like aging, or do you think humanity should fight it? No.
No? Go ahead. I'll speak.
No, he had it off, apparently.
Now it's working. Thank you. I'd like to comment on the profound remarks made by Ramon Tamanes. It was fantastic words. He is right. There is no point to live long if we live badly. Transhumanism is not about living long. It's about living well for as long as we want. And it's about we will be healthy, that's why we will live long. We will not live long in the transhumanist vision, in bad health. We will only live long if we are overcoming aging in all aspects of our life. I also agree with Ramon Tamames. There is no point to live long and good if it is just a few people. But transhumanism is about healthy longevity for everybody who wants it. We envision not a selfish future, but a future in which we proceed together, people in all parts of the world, in all areas of life. And most important of all, I agree with Ramon Tamames about the importance to make the globe healthy as well as the individuals healthy. There is no point as humans being healthy if the globe is sick. But the good news is transhumanist technologies can heal the world too. The same improvements in biotech that can make us live healthily longer can transform agriculture. Instead of large parts of the world being used to grow crops, to feed to cattle and other animals, which we then slaughter and eat, we can use biotech to cultivate meat in laboratories. That's coming soon, and that will produce much less greenhouse gases. It will be much better for the environment. That's one way in which transhumanist technologies can help to heal the planet. We can also envision AI controlling nuclear fusion. That's possible quite soon. If we hurry up with AI and hurry up with nuclear fusion, we will have ample, clean nuclear energy. And a second plan, a plan which the EU is investigating, as well as other parts of the world, is solar energy from space, in which we put satellites in orbit which can collect solar energy in vast quantities and then transmit it to the Earth. We can hurry up with that. And these are some ways in which we can make the world healthy so that as we live longer ourselves, we will be living in a transhumanist paradise on Earth rather than in a miserable future. So that's what I look forward to, overcoming aging. It's a world which is sustainable superabundance.
Yes, thank you, David, and let's continue with Natasha. By the way, David, you didn't understand, obviously, Dr. Pedro Guillén, but he basically said the same things, that we should be living longer and healthier, and the objective is to be as young as possible, and then if you die, hopefully not, you die quickly.
I think one of the issues that was brought up is the environment. The gases, the pollution, the apparent seemingly lack of care by those who were invested emotionally and financially in longevity. And I want to dispel that myth. First off, we start caring more about the environment as we get older and develop a little bit of rationale, a little bit of logos, a little bit of common sense. While we're young, we may be passionate about it, but we don't understand the logic, the economics of it, the theoretical approaches, nor the technological approaches, because we're young and inexperienced. By the time we get to a point where we see the need and the urgency of it, we have gotten a little bit tired as well, because we're usually at the end of our careers as we've determined them and looking at new ways to espouse our wisdom. But let me say this, and this is my theoretical approach, but it's also a very pragmatic approach. I think there is an incredibly wrong misconception about longevity in this regard to the planet. No one wants to live longer in an unhealthy planet, and in fact, if we assess the psychology of human nature, we often like to get a little bit lazy and procrastinate and pontificate. I was trying not to pontificate, so thank you, David. We procrastinate. We put things off until it's too late, and then we freak out. Oh, global warming, it's here. Look at Al Gore's misconception of global warming. What a rudeness to the Nobel Prize that he won a prize based on hyperbole with his film, An Inconvenient Truth. And it's that type of science that misconfuses people and gets things wrong. What we need to do is get things right. Understand what is affecting the planet and all life forms, not just humans and not just man. Let's say humans, not man. I'm a little bit tired of this man sensibility. We are humans here, men and women, and anyone in between. But the point being that it will probably, and this will be seemingly an oxymoron, it will probably be the people who live longer that actually have the time and energy and capabilities to correct some of the problems of the planet that have been brought about by the Industrial Revolution, by a lack of knowledge about the pollution and effects of toxins on people's health. And those of us who have gotten cancer from the environment, we know. Those of us who are cancer survivors because of environmental damage, we know. Yay. So let's not blame it on man or humans. Let's take a look at what's going on and see that it's a continuous evolutionary process, and that probably, again, the oxymoron here is that probably the people who live longer will actually have the wherewithal, the patience, the understanding, the commitment to actually reverse the damage that has occurred. Because those who really are passionate about it right now aren't going to be around. Therefore, it's those of us who are going to live longer, and it's our responsibility to do something about it, because we don't want to live longer in a nasty, unfortunate, stinky planet. So that's my 2 cents to clean up that misconception. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Beautiful, beautiful. So, same question to you, Don Ramon. Do you like aging, or should we fight it?
We must imagine the future of our planet in better conditions at present, because now we are in the worst situation. We have the method. The agreement of Paris of 2015 is a good agreement. Perhaps it is not the best thing. Our knowledge doesn't go further. We have studied through the IPCC, we say in Spanish, the International Meeting for Climate Change, which is a group of some 3,000 wisdom brains working for the future. We must respect these reports. They give from time to time, and then things are worse. We got yesterday the news that the gases last year were in an emission of more than the previous year, because of the war of Ukraine, and we are in the worst conditions also because we could enter an atomic war. Fortunately, we could say there are some conversations between Russia and the States. Well, this is good, a good thing. They have not lost all reason. They keep a little bit of reason, and they perhaps foresee some arrangement to prevent this nuclear war. But of course, Dr. Guillén has explained very well how they are ameliorating the tissues, the conditions of the organs. They are working for us along the life. And this is very important. I think that there is not a opposition between the goals of transhumanism and the preserving of the planet. There is not a contradiction, but we must take in account that the longevity, the search of longevity is more egoist, more personal. You are working, the lovers of this trend, you are working for the rich people in many cases to keep a cryopreservation of a person during 200 years could be a fortune, yes. A lot of money, and this has to be spent also at present in extreme cases in the less developed countries and so on. Investigation is necessary. I think you are working in this field. I don't know if Mr. Cremades is also working. I listened very interested the statements of our Anglo-speaking guests today, and I am very proud also to be mentioned by the first speaker when he said that was in agreement what we say the people who are more for the world conditions and the planet conditions. This is a very important moment, very important moment. We are reaching the most difficult situations. Putin, Biden, money in India, and so on. They must work more for mankind than for the personal aspiration. What is the meaning of Russia having 20,000 more square kilometers in his extension when they have 17 million square kilometers of country? This is a child vision of his future. I think we must say that to Mr. Putin and company. Well, you have still a few hours, I suppose, of thinking in Madrid, the persons who have come today here, and I wish you the best conditions for this thinking and contributing to the amelioration of the mankind horizons. We must draft some horizons out of the movement for more war. They are greeting each other because Finland and Sweden have left neutralism to become members of the OTAN. This is nonsense. The neutrality of Sweden since the Napoleonic Wars have been lost. They are trying to convince Switzerland to become also a member of the NATO. This is nonsense, nonsense. The human capital of being neutral for 4 centuries, this is a real treasure. We must keep it. Switzerland must continue to be an example of neutrality. Wars have no explanation in any case. Thank you very much.
I think it's very, very important to fight of the aging. Yo soy un luchador contra el envejecimiento. La edad oscura del hombre, llamo yo este proceso. Él conoce un libro que hemos publicado que se llama El último Sapiens, que si alguno tiene interés lo puede leer. El último Sapiens es un riego de ideas sobre cómo va a confeccionarse el hombre a partir del momento en que vivimos. Y si va a ser este el último Homo sapiens y va a venir otras circunstancias. El libro les puede interesar, se llama El último sapiens. Pues tenemos otra cosa que es la edad oscura del hombre. Se han descrito edades oscuras en Grecia, se han descrito edades oscuras en la humanidad en muchos momentos. El hombre tiene la edad oscura, que es el envejecimiento. En la pérdida de propiedades de defensa, ¿qué viejo se levanta sin tener dolor? Si no tiene dolor ya no está. Creo que hay que luchar contra el envejecimiento. Y el trabajo, el agreement with the Alcor Life and our hospital, es for me very, very interesting. Yo creo firmemente en la lucha contra el envejecimiento. Y es la lucha de este siglo que empieza. Y además hay que ir a gran velocidad.
Don Ramón quería agregar algo.
No, a mí me gustaría
Con el
decir
micrófono.
Sí, una cosa, y la voy a decir en español para mayor fluidez. El simbolismo del barón de Munchausen. El barón de Munchausen, en el mito alemán de la inmortalidad, es un personaje extraordinario. ¿Y qué le pasó al final? Se cansó de la inmortalidad. Y él conoció a una mujer, se casaron, tuvieron hijos, y dijo: renuncio a mi inmortalidad y prefiero morir a tu lado, no solo por el amor, sino porque ya estoy cansado. Bueno, eso es un mito muy aleccionador. Vamos a hacer una inmortalidad llena de problemas. Yo no coincido con el doctor Guillén en este caso. No creo que sea la fase oscura, el envejecimiento tiene unas oportunidades formidables, de más tiempo, pensar. Si tienes la suerte de disfrutar de una cierta salud, es una época de reflexión. Abandonas tu profesión originaria en cierto modo. A mí me interesa más buscando a Dios en el universo últimamente que el PIB de España, también por razones egoístas, claro. Y tratamos de responder a las 4 preguntas de Kant. Claro, las 4 preguntas de Kant, que al final, ¿qué es el hombre? Dice. Pues el hombre no sabemos lo que es. Es una representación de Dios. ¿Cómo esta máquina humana, y el doctor Guillén lo sabe muy bien, la química del aparato digestivo, el biotopo, cómo se ha podido formar eso por casualidad? ¿Es posible que se haya formado por casualidad una cosa tan compleja? El ADN, la escritura de Dios que dijo el presidente Clinton, ¿es posible que sea por casualidad? Bueno, pues pensamos en el mundo antrópico, el universo antrópico. El universo está preparado para que el hombre haga la evolución. Bueno, pues ahí cabe el transhumanismo y cabe también la preocupación por el planeta, y yo creo que hay que compaginarlas. Y a lo mejor asignar una cantidad a la investigación transhumanista y otra a la global, y no mirarse como enemigos, sino como amigos investigadores. Gracias.
Muy bien, muy bien. We are going to tell that to the concejal de Madrid. We are going to tell that to him. Well, we have to tell him 2 things. One, the center here in Madrid, and second, the research on transhumanism. Fantastic, fantastic words. Thank you. Okay, now we have the privilege to have one of the very best lawyers in Spain internationally. He is the president of the World Jurist Association. And he invited me to one of his latest congress here in Madrid, which was fabulous, in La Zarzuela, no? Well, in a fantastic place here in Madrid. As the president of the World Jurist Association, he has a lot of weight, nationally and internationally. He didn't have the chance to speak a little bit before, but I would like to hear his ideas on longevity, his ideas on biostasis, and also, obviously, the question, should we fight aging or just happy die.
Thank you, José Luis. It's a pleasure to share this dialogue, this conversation with all of you. Let me explain myself in Spanish. I think that the audience here is probably split it, and I believe so. Yo creo que la conversación con Tamames, con Guillén, con nuestros compañeros ingleses.
Como es igual y estamos transmitiendo internacionalmente, preferimos inglés.
Okay, so I think the conversation has come, I think, to the center of the topic, which is it is for me not just a scientific discussion, but a human discussion, anthropologic discussion. So there is no way everybody is for a better life and longer life. That's the question is what are the limits, how should we do it, whether any limits exist. And I will present very briefly the Spanish legislation, which is probably followed and probably understood the same way in most of the countries around the globe. So I understand that it's much better to live a life a healthy life, a shorter time than a bad life. But who decides? I mean, that connects us with the purpose of life. So you might find people physically suffering and deeply in love with someone or with life. So personally, you can decide whether it makes sense or not. But legislation is not about sentiments, but about realities, dignity, rights, and judgment about what is right and what is wrong. And just a few comments about what means dying. First is the transition. I mean, one of the consequences of lying is a transition between a body and a cadaver. What is a cadaver? Lie? A corpse?
A corpse.
A corpse. Okay, so it's not anymore a body, but it's a corpse. And a corpse, under the Roman law, under the Spanish law, under the American law, is not anymore a person, but it's not a good that you can trade. And many judges and all legislation says that the corpse is this destiny is to be resting in peace somewhere. What will happen if cryopreservation will lead us? By the way, today you have the right to decide what to do with your corpse, whether your organs are good. In Spanish legislation, it is supposed that unless you decide otherwise, your organs could be given to science or to help another person. But you can decide otherwise, because you have the right to decide. By the way, even after life, some rights of personality gets extincted. So you are not anymore a husband, you are anymore a father, but your personality rights, some of them exist. Right to honor, right to intimacy, right? So somebody can exercise them on your behalf even if you are dead. So what would be the situation if cryopreservation would be a way to get life back in some years, in 10 years, in 25 years? And of course, with today's legal framework in most of our countries, you need to be deciding what to do before you die. So otherwise we can, by the way, as you know, we have two big systems in the world. One system is the, let's say, Roman law inspired law system, and the other one is more oriented in judges' decision. In one system, which is continental European system, and many other countries in Korea and in Africa, usually everything is written in codes. In the other system, justice, there are laws, of course, but justice is usually decided by judges. So my final point here is this is a very, by the way, I have to apologize because I need to leave a quarter to 12, but I will not be able to follow this incredible opportunity to have a conversation with these wise people, wise gentlemen, wise partners here. But my point here is, first, this discussion is not about how do I feel. I can say, okay, I'm too old, I'm too busy, or I'm too tired, I am too sick. It's not about how you feel. By the way, the Spanish Constitution says that suicide is not a crime, but the assistant to a suicide is a crime. So it still protects the right to live, and life is a most complicated topic in any constitutional. So pursuit of happiness is a personal goal, but protection of life is a public good. It's a public also commitment. So this Cordero is, and you all following transhumanism are brave enough to go to the mayor, to the center of the public discussion, which is what to do with life. So today the limits are very clear. By the way, there is many other discussions about, you were talking about probably people living better and longer will be more able to take care of the planet. Meanwhile, to help these people to achieve an uncertain goal of giving life back is going to produce a huge carbon. I mean, all these topics, you know, are under discussion. But finally, what we have today is legislation, and legislation is quite clear. A body cannot be taken out of the country. In Spain, you cannot decide what to do with the body because the body doesn't belong to anybody anymore, and it has to be buried or creamed and just respected. You cannot trade, you cannot buy, you cannot sell, not just organs but not corpse, and that's fine. And in the way, I think science, by the way, science is the only one who decides when somebody is died. So the register all incorporates, but this is science who decide when this is not working anymore, or heart and breathing is not working anymore, the two encephalic stop, or breathing and cardiological stop. But it has to be decided by a doctor. And then the register starts, and then all the legal consequences start. But so far, we cannot go beyond what is today in legislation, and this probably has to be, science has to be forward, and after that, maybe legislation can be following as usually. Thank you.
Well, fantastic, fantastic words. Again, not only from one of the top Spanish lawyers, but the president now of the World Jurist Association. And because you brought up the issue of cryonics, now I will begin with you and go back. And the question is, would you consider cryopreservation for yourself? And if not, what would make you change your mind?
I will not consider cryopreservation for myself, since I don't believe this is a certain way to keep something protected who can have any value. That means if my organs in the future could be donated or my life could be recovered, of course I will consider cryopreservation. But today this is not the case.
Exactly, so that is the second part. What would make you change your mind? What do we need to make you change your mind?
A conviction that will create something good for society, for myself, for my family, for others, fellow citizens. But today is very uncertain, so I don't see myself going into, what was the place?
In Switzerland?
No, in the US.
Alcor.
Alcor. I don't see myself spending a lot of money and spending a lot of carbon footprint to a very uncertain possibility that someday I could get my life back.
Doctor Pedro Guillén, o Don Ramón, que está ansioso de hablar. Tome este micrófono. Tome.
I wonder if Mr. Cremades
¿Está prendido?
Creo que lo tienen apagado.
Ah.
Pero es que está apagando el cable, que use otro.
Sí, ¿se oye bien ahora? ¿Se oye bien?
Apaga ese, coge otro. Está roto ese cable.
No, está correcto, ya.
No hace ruido.
¿Está bien?
Dale, dale. Sí.
¿Lo dejo el trípode?
Sí. No, pero cerca, que se escuche.
Bueno, vamos a ver, porque no, I wonder if Mr. Cremades has made a statement enough clear to be understood by everybody. That is to say, does he defend cryopreservation so that resurrección, la resurrección, is possible? I think that resurrection could be possible if it is not resurrection, but to awake a person who has been slept artificially for so many years. We have the case of animals that can be preserved virus for thousands of years, thousands, hundreds of thousands. In Siberia, with the discovery of ¿cómo se llama este gas? Metano, the methane. Methane is in English?
Methane.
Methane. Well, they are discovering virus with millions of years of life. But they were slept. They never were killed before going to the cryopreservation by natural ways in Siberia. I wonder if it's possible the resurrection. I don't think so. You can awake a person who has been artificially slept during many years. Even you can take care of this person from time to time to preserve the corpse in the best conditions. Waiting for the awaking, but you cannot make a resurrection. This is impossible. This is impossible because, well, it was a miracle. The miracles, they are not accepted by everybody, of course.
Let's argue against that. Let's argue why. Okay, but you need the mic.
Yeah.
It's your turn. But let's talk about how and why you revive.
Sí, sí. Yesterday, our group will study this problem. En nuestro hospital, solo el 90% de las células crioconservadas se despiertan y podemos implantarlas. Mueren el 5 al 10% de nuestras células y venimos haciéndolo desde el año 1996. Y este es un problema muy importante.
¿Y las neuronas están ahí? ¿Las neuronas?
No, son células condrocitos, da igual. La célula, al fin la célula tiene sus mecanismos de defensa y demás. Yo hablo que en el aparato locomotor, que es el que yo entiendo y quiero, solo en las mejores manos del mundo, y las nuestras en nuestro grupo es bueno y otros, no pasan del 90 a 94% de viabilidad de las células. Mueren, no son viables un 10% de la criopreservación celular que venimos haciendo del año 96.
¿Y cuáles son esas
Sí.
células que no pueden
So Ramon,
mantenerse?
Ramon, before I leave, and I will hope to follow this conversation through the web. But very briefly, and let me share both in Spanish and English. Para eso de dormir a alguien y luego despertarle es técnicamente incorrecto. Para dormirle tiene que haber muerto. Por lo tanto, primero morir.
Legalmente no se le puede hacer eso.
Primero morir. tiene que decretarse la muerte completa de la persona para, en su caso, enterrarla, quemarla o criopreservarla. Entonces tú dices, ¿puede haber una resurrección? Yo digo, yo personalmente, eso es hoy en día es una hipótesis, yo pienso que hay más vida. ¿Cómo voy a llegar a esa vida? No lo sé. Yo creo en la resurrección personalmente. Si voy a llegar a través de un poder sobrenatural o ese poder sobrenatural me va a llegar a través del desarrollo científico, la verdad es que no tengo ni idea. Pero hoy en día, sí es posible técnicamente la criopreservación, porque dentro de lo que sea un tratamiento adecuado para el cuerpo, para el cadáver, y todo lo que sea un tratamiento acorde con la dignidad que sigue teniendo ese respojo humano, es fantástico, se puede hacer. Y finalmente, lo que decía el doctor Guillén, una cosa son los órganos o las células, pero otra cosa es la vida y la complejidad del ser humano, que incluye ese elemento emocional y espiritual que ya no existe, aunque consigas trasplantar un corazón hacia otra persona, que siga funcionando, ¿no? So, just to finish, I think resurrection, I believe in resurrection. I don't know how resurrection is going to happen, whether through scientific power, I hope, or whether any other supernatural power. Meanwhile, so far, dignity of the corpse is respected. Cryopreservation is something that could be done.
Here it explains how. Okay, no. This is a very good, important legal argument, and our lawyer Cremades has to go, but the explanation is here, actually. And Natasha, if you want to say something quickly, no?
Yes.
Es imposible. Oye, y te dice, cuando resucita, nos cuenta qué ha pasado ese tiempo, donde ha estado esperando a resucitar.
I wanted to mention carbon footprint, and that's you brought that up several times, twice, maybe 3 times. There's ways we can reduce our carbon footprint today. Turn off your lights, keep your tires filled with, enough air. Don't drive so much, don't fly so much, don't use water in plastic bottles, etc. These are very insignificant ways. Nanotechnology, molecular manufacturing will definitely make a huge difference in the carbon footprint. And I wouldn't be surprised if a carbon footprint 20 years from now, 30, 40 years from now, is less of an issue, much like overpopulation. We are facing a population decline globally, whereas 20, 40 years ago, everyone was very concerned, deeply concerned about overpopulation. Now it's a non-issue, pretty much. So I think, yeah, okay. Just before you left, thank you. Adios.
Okay, continue, and then David.
Okay. Now, is there such a thing as revival? Will it happen? Well, I agree that it can seem very difficult and strange that a person who is pronounced dead could be brought back to life after being suspended in liquid nitrogen for a decade, 2 decades, 100 years, but it is possible. And it is that possibility that has ignited human intelligence and creativity ever since the beginning of humankind. The ingenuity, the invention, the innovation of the human mind to solve puzzles is what we're really all about, is it not? We've gone to the moon, we've gone past Saturn now. The things that we didn't think we could do with microscopes and telescopes, etc. at all. So where there's a possibility, there becomes a probability. Where there's a no, it can never happen, there comes a, oops, I wish I had never said that. So let's leave all possibilities on the table. And my dear colleagues at the back of the room, we know that memory does survive cryopreservation because it is our scientific breakthrough. And yes, it was just a small C. elegans nematode, but it's a small, simple animal. My next step is a mammal. So let's give it every bit of possibility. Today, with prosthetics and artificial intelligence and haptic systems, people can walk. Arms can move. People with prosthetic arms can feel the heat of a glass of coffee or the coolness of a cup of tea. So we don't know what the future will be. Stephen Hawking had ALS. He communicated through a computer. His brain was still active. There are so many possibilities for the future. No, we don't know for sure, but with nanotechnology and nanomedicine and nanorobotics, there is a huge possibility. And that's what we need to focus on. The possibility that humans will become more compassionate, kinder, humankind, more humane, that we will take care of the planet, that we will make life possible in positive ways, in fulfilling ways for all humanity, no matter where they are on this simple speck of dust that Carl Sagan talked about. We're here, and this is our responsibility. And I think transhumanism, that is why I wrote the manifesto, I co-founded the movement, because of this possibility.
Let me answer the question personally, and then I'll give answers as to why people might change their minds about being cryopreserved, even though today they are skeptical and unsure. If I look to my own future, I'm 63 years old. I'm getting weak in some aspects, it's true. I can see my death approaching. I think there's about a 50% chance that in the future I will be cryopreserved and cryopreserved well. That's 50%. I see a 25% chance that I won't need to be cryopreserved because plan A will work. That is, there will be longevity treatments available whilst I am still young enough to benefit. That's a 25% chance. And the other 25% chance is that the world's going to get much worse and I might die in bad circumstances. I can't be cryopreserved. That's my assessment today. How might that change? Well, the cost is an important question. I heard that there are issues about spending all that money on cryopreservation and traveling, but we often spend even more money on other medical treatments. Open heart surgery is extremely expensive. Why do we do that? It's because we think we can have a good chance of more life. And we pay that money for our family members to have that treatment because we want our family members to survive and have longer relations. So the question isn't just cost. The question is, how likely is the procedure to work? And we spend that money on open heart surgery because we are fairly confident there's a chance the person will benefit. Whereas today it's still unclear, as you heard, about the prospects for reanimation. But there are reanimations. People whose heart have stopped. In previous centuries, if your heart was stopped, you were dead. But now we can revive people whose hearts have stopped. There has been revival of people who fell in very cold water and their bodies dropped in temperature. Not as far as liquid nitrogen, but their bodies were very cold and they were revived from that. So as there is more evidence of the sort that Natasha talked about, when gradually there won't just be worms being revived, but there will be other smaller mammals revived, that's going to change people's minds radically. And they're going to flip from being skeptical and negative to being enthusiastic and saying, this is a good use of money. And by the way, the costs can come down. The cost will come down as we become better at doing this at scale. When something is done very rarely, it's often expensive. When it becomes part of a normal procedure, the costs can be reduced. And again, that's going to help more people to sign up. So that's why I anticipate that in the next 5 to 10 years, many more people are going to change their minds. And instead of saying, I'm not sure about this, instead of people saying to their family members, don't waste that money on this selfish scheme, give the money instead to your grandchildren, they won't say that. They'll say, I love you, I want you to have a good chance at a new life. Please spend this money to ensure your cryopreservation. That change, I think, is coming.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have one final question for the panel, because we have two Spanish personalities and two international personalities. And we want to position Spain into longevity. Remember, Vita plus Ultra. That should be the new logo of Spain, Vita plus Ultra. Natasha likes it because she's Natasha Vita more. But we had some political people here also watching us online. We will have another representative of the government of Madrid tomorrow. So we want to advise them, number one, with Manuel de la Peña to have and Dr. Pedro Guillén, this center with Altos Labs here in Madrid, number one. And number two, as Natasha suggested, and transhumanism research here in Madrid with government support. So anyway, that's my final question. How do you think we can position Madrid and Spain more into longevity and more into cryonics, into research in technology? So Dr. Pedro Guillén.
I think it's very
Microphone.
important to all advance is very good of the country. Mirar, yo he luchado mucho con tejidos que se reparan y tejidos que se regeneran. Es que no es igual. Si ustedes se han operado de algo, verán que tienen una cicatriz. La piel no se regenera. Pero sirve bien la cicatriz, pero no se regenera jamás. Sin embargo, sí se regenera el hígado. Saben que se pone un tercio de hígado y el hígado se pone entero luego. O se regenera también la córnea, o los huesos, se rompe el hueso. Yo he luchado mucho contra ver los tejidos que se reparan y se regeneran. Y el próximo sábado tengo un meeting con Ispisúa en nuestra clínica, al cual están invitados, sobre la artrosis. Es decir, cómo regenerar tejido cartilaginoso, how make functional cartilage, cómo fabricar cartílago funcional. Y si están invitados de forma gratuita, todo el que quiera, pero a mí me preocupa siempre los avances. Yo soy un hombre de avances, pero tienen que estar basados muy bien en la ciencia, muy bien en la ciencia. No todos los tejidos nuestros son capaces de responder igual, porque en la misma piel no. Y sin embargo, yo creo que este camino que nos estás trazando, yo creo que hay que llevarlo a las últimas consecuencias, porque yo lo vengo haciendo en el cartílago desde hace 27 años, crioconservando células, y tengo células desde el año 96 crioconservadas. No sé las que podrán ser vivas cuando yo lo extraiga, ¿eh? Estoy seguro, según mis técnicos, que tú conoces, que mueren, no, sobre el 10%, en nuestra experiencia, pero en otros laboratorios más. Pero como yo te felicito y creo que es una cosa importante a considerar.
On the possibilities of Spain having a good place in this kind of research, I am rather optimistic. I remember a story when there was a group of persons meeting every day for tertulia, talk show, in the media at present, talk show. And there was a bullfighter whose name was Guerra. Guerra was a very clever bullfighter, and one day arrived to the talk show Ortega y Gasset, who has already been quoted, the great Spanish philosopher. And El Guerra, the bullfighter, asked, "Who is this gentleman?" And they told, "This gentleman is a philosopher." And El Guerra, who did know very well what was a philosopher, he said, "Hay gente pa' todo. There is people for everything." Well, we have persons for everything. Fortunately, the capacity of Spain in researching is huge, but it has not yet been discovered in many cases. But there are people research everywhere about everything. Fortunately, we are a country with not so many funds, economic funds for investigation, but people like very much to make research, and you find this in all universities, young people who go abroad to investigate also and so on. I am very, very optimistic. And besides that, now in Barcelona and Madrid, these are the two great cities, well, there is a lot of interest in the authorities of making, creating centers of research everywhere. We are discussing now the creation, for instance, of the Space Agency of Spain. We are a member of the European Space Agency, but it is necessary to have our own space agency with a collection of industries, thousands of enterprises. They are working for space. And there is a fight among the cities in Spain to become the siege of this new agency. Well, I think this is a topic of great interest. Cryopreservation is interesting for everybody. They are in favor and against. Resurrection is a very hot topic. You have seen that, the discussion. The main defender of resurrection went out, unfortunately for him, because there were more questions about this possibility. But I am sure the field choice by Mr. Cordeiro for promoting new activities is a good choice. Good choice, and critics coming from global attitudes, they are not the enemies of this purpose. They are not enemies. There is a part of the general framework. We must have the general framework too. Thank you.
Fantastic words, Don Ramon. And the word we prefer is reanimation. Resuscitation sounds religious. This is science, so we prefer reanimation. But good point. So now we have the closing recommendations from Natasha and from David. So please, Natasha.
Well, picking up on what was just said about space exploration and the European Space Agency, and Spain has been part of that, not a huge part, but part of the Galileo project and a number of different projects. I think when I think of Spain, I think Hernando de Soto, I believe, was the name, the explorer, and Spanish explorers have always been at the forefront. I mean, consider. Well, Christopher Columbus, he didn't discover America; it was already there. But you think of the Pinto, the Nina, and the Santa Maria. Those names are really well known. And when one thinks about the Spanish, you see the ships, the fleet of ships. So why not the fleet of spaceships? Why not the fleet of cryonics and transhumanist sensibilities in exploring? The explorer in Spanish nature is quite poignant. And I think just picking up on that poignancy would be really marvelous, and you can take it in metaphors and analogies and visual images and sayings and whatnot. But I think you got it, and it's already there, the explorer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Natasha. And because we are in Spain, let me tell you, actually, we are celebrating this year the first round-the-trip tour by the Spanish. And this was Elcano who finished. It took 3 years to do the trip around the world. 3 years. To go to America was only 3 months. to go around the world 3 years, and we celebrated it 2 months ago. It was Spain. So thank you for your advice, recommendations. And let's finish with David.
I think Spain can do 3 things to position itself as a leader in this field. Something that's important, something that's very important, and something that's extremely important. The important thing is to continue its pedigree of leading research into aging and reanimation. The most widely quoted paper in all of scientific history on aging is called The Hallmarks of Aging paper. It had 5 authors, and 3 of them were from Spain. That's Carlos López Otín, Mario Blasco, and Manuel Serrano. That shows the influence and significance of Spanish scientific research in this field. More important than the scientific research is changing the law, the legal systems. As we heard, some of the legal systems from the past are not suitable to proper treatment of biostasis. But in Spain, you have a remarkable legal team, including Jordi Sandalinas, who will be speaking later, his proposals to change aspects of the law. And these law changes may start in Spain, but I hope will spread around the world. Even more important than the scientific changes and the legal changes are the changes in philosophy. Javier Cremandes was entirely right when he said, biostasis, finally, is not a scientific discussion, it's a human discussion. We humans need to decide what we want to want. And there is a long tradition in Spain of good philosophical conversations. I'm expecting Spain to continue to lead the discussion of what humans should want to want. And I believe people in Spain will say it is a good thing to want our loved members of family, our loved colleagues, to have another chance at a longer life. That is a human discussion that needs to take place, and I think Spain can help to lead that as well. So I see a very bright future for Spain in the evolving field of biostasis.
Okay, and with that we finish this fantastic panel. I want to give all my thanks to my master, to my mentor, Don Ramón Tamames, and you always have some final words.
No, and don't forget the bullfighter. Hay gente pa' todo.
There is people for everything. So thank you, Dr. Guillén. So thank you, Dr. Ramón Tamames, Natasha and David. So,
Dr. Vita Moore.
yes, Dr. Vita Moore and also Dr. David Good. Anyway, so let's continue. Please, we have another interesting panel. We'll try to continue on time, so make the presentation shorter. Ignacio, you are coming here to lead the session, please. Ignacio, Carlos, and Jordi, please. So thank you. Sí, mientras salgo. Ayúdame a sacar a Tamames. Sí, lo pongo ahorita en el display. Sí.
Oh, don't give me someone else's card. Yeah, that's good.
Mariam.
Give me some. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you so much.
Has estado excelente como siempre. Tengo ganas de disfrutar, de no pensar en nada. Oye, he empezado la quinta serie de...
Biostasis is an advanced technology that aims to give you the best chance to live much, much longer than what is currently possible. But why do people want to live longer? Some people just love life and want to experience it for as long as possible. Some people are just curious about the future. They want to see what future cities will be like and what humanity will be able to achieve. Others think the world would be better and more fair if the length of your life was your own choice. There is no doubt that you will ever run out of things to do in a multifaceted world like the one we live in. In the end, the motivations are plentiful. But how can someone sign up for Biostasis? First, you simply sign up with us and our insurance partner. It just takes a few minutes. To start, we only need some personal information. Don't worry, it's a simple process and we will guide you through every step of the way. Biostasis is achieved with the help of cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is a very advanced procedure that's still rather expensive and therefore not widely available. Tomorrow offers high-quality cryopreservation with prices starting from €100,000 and going all the way up to €400,000. Of course, this is a lot of money that few people can easily afford. But there is a solution. Together with our big-term life insurance partner, we offer a subscription model which brings the cost down to only €30 a month. About 90% of all biostasis contracts are funded via a term life insurance model. Let's say you're 30 years old and you want to sign up. The first thing you need to do is sign up with Tomorrow Biostasis, and we automatically contract with our term life insurance partner for your coverage. Now, should you pass away during the coverage period, the term life insurance will cover 100% of the cryopreservation cost. You are protected from day one. Should you pass away after the coverage period, then unfortunately the term life insurance will not cover the cryopreservation cost. But of course there are other funding options for this situation as well. We make sure that our customers have everything in place well in advance. Furthermore, there is a high chance that prices will come down significantly in the future, as we work consistently to reduce the cost of a high-quality cryopreservation. Congratulations! You are now fully signed up. Now, should anything happen to you where current medical technology can't save you, like a terminal heart disease, cancer, or whatever it might be, and the worst case happens and you should die, our team stands ready to pick you up and bring you to a medical research institute that is equipped for cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is an advanced procedure that uses medical cryoprotectant solution and very low temperatures to protect your body, and most importantly your brain, the part that makes you, against degradation. We keep you safe and sound for however long it takes until medical technology will be advanced enough that revival is possible. While we can't guarantee that, it's arguably better than any other option. Then, once technology makes it possible, we will revive you. Sometimes people are worried that life in the future might not be as enjoyable as it is today. But if history has shown us anything, it is that the average quality of life keeps getting better during the years. Now, after revival, you are free to continue your life as fit and happy as ever. Of course, this is a complex topic where a short video doesn't really do it justice. We are more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Just reach out to us. Find out more at tomorrowbiostasis.com.
The fascinating science of cryonics could give people a second chance at life. The whole idea of cryonics started with physics professor Robert Ettinger. He pioneered the movement with his seminal book, The Prospect for Immortality. He then went on to launch the Cryonics Institute. But just what is cryonics, and what does the Cryonics Institute do? Cryonics is a procedure that preserves the human body at low temperatures after death, in the hope it can be revived in the future. The process should begin immediately after a person is declared legally dead. Even though the heart has stopped beating, there's still brain function during this period. So a heart-lung resuscitator is used to stabilize the body and keep the brain supplied with blood and oxygen. The body is cooled in an ice bath to slow down metabolic demand and to protect both DNA and organ structure. Then anticoagulants and protective medications are injected into the body to stop the blood clotting during transit. The body is then packed in ice and transported to a cryonics facility. Once there, a process called vitrification begins, where the blood is replaced with a cryoprotectant antifreeze solution. This is done to prevent the cells from freezing and to stop ice crystals from forming around organs at extremely low temperatures. The body is then placed in a computerized vapor cooling chamber and cooled to negative 196 degrees Celsius. Once the body is properly cooled, the patient is transferred to a long-term cryostat storage container. Thousands of people are signed up for cryonics throughout the world, and the numbers are steadily growing. The Cryonics Institute is the world's largest provider of whole-body cryonics. They have performed more whole-body human and pet cryosuspensions than any other organization. The Cryonics Institute is also the most affordable cryonics company, with a whole-body suspension fee of only $28,000. Most people can afford this cost with simple life insurance. Our organization is a member-owned nonprofit with open financial records. Suspension money collected is carefully invested in secure endowment-like securities. The investment dividends earned from these investments fund perpetual storage and cryonics upkeep. This is how CI has operated since 1976. Some people prematurely dismiss cryonics because the technology to revive someone who has been cryogenically frozen does not exist yet. But they miss the point. Cryonics is really an ambulance ride now to a future hospital where that technology may someday exist. What does science say? There are now peer-reviewed scientific papers supporting cryonics, as well as many PhDs who have gone on record to support cryonics. Recent advances in stem cells, nanotechnology, and genetic engineering are proving that what was once considered impossible is becoming routine. Some have suggested that someday even aging itself may be halted or reversed. People once considered dead only 50 years ago today are revived with CPR and cardiac defibrillation. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation and organ transplant technology were once shunned by primitive thinkers, but today they are hailed as life-saving advances. If history has taught us anything, no one knows the future, and it is foolish to say what future technology will be impossible. Considering the alternative, which is certain death, cryonics is a rational scientific wager with little to lose and virtually everything to gain. Check out cryonics.org to learn more.
I think this has to be perhaps the most intellectually lazy question or objection to cryonics that I've come across. First of all, how can you cheat death? Death isn't a person. To be cheated, you have to be a person. You have to have interests. Death is not a thing at all. It's just an absence of existence. So it literally and philosophically makes no sense at all to talk about cheating death. It's a common phrase, but actually when you think about it, it's completely meaningless. Now, okay, let's take it more metaphorically. Are we cheating death? Okay, no more than you are when you go in for open heart surgery to save your life. No more than when you have an experimental cancer treatment to hopefully save your life from cancer. You're cheating death, I should say, in those cases, true. So there's nothing special about cryonics cheating death. It's a little more radical in terms of an experimental treatment because we're not sure how well it will work. We can't yet see the end result, whether we can successfully revive people. We can't be certain of that yet. But in principle, it's no different than these other drastic life-extending measures. So we're not really cheating anything. Another way of putting it is cryonics unnatural? This kind of takes away the idea of cheating, which doesn't really literally make any sense since death is not a person. But is it unnatural? Well, what does that mean? Human beings are part of nature. We're natural beings. So in a sense, anything we do cannot be unnatural. Now, it can conflict with other parts of nature, but one thing humans have always done is to alter their environment and to alter themselves. We've been tool-making animals for a very long time, and it's been many decades now, or centuries even, since we've applied these technologies to ourselves. We've had dental correction, vision correction, other ways of modifying our nature for a long time. And every time we take an experimental therapy to extend our lives, we're in a sense interfering with nature. But that's what we do. That's perfectly natural to us. Cryonics is just an extension of that drive to change our nature for the better, to give us a choice in how long we live. So if that's cheating death, then let's do it. This is Max Moore, answering your questions about cryonics. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you would like more information.
Have you ever wondered how biostasis works? Let us guide you through it. Medical biostasis is an advanced technology that aims to give you the best chance to live much, much longer than what is currently possible. But why do people want to live longer? Some people just love life and want to experience it for as long as possible. Some people are just curious about the future. They want to see what future cities will be like and what humanity will be able to achieve. Others think the world would be better and more fair if the length of your life was your own choice. There is no doubt that you will ever run out of things to do in a multifaceted world like the one we live in. In the end, the motivations are plentiful. But how can someone sign up for biostasis? First, you simply sign up with us and our insurance partner. It just takes a few minutes. To start, we only need some personal information. Don't worry, it's a simple process, and we will guide you through every step of the way. Biostasis is achieved with the help of cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is a very advanced procedure that's still rather expensive and therefore not widely available. Tomorrow offers high-quality cryopreservation with prices starting from €100,000 and going all the way up to €400,000. Of course, this is a lot of money that few people can easily afford. But there is a solution. Together with our big-term life insurance partner, we offer a subscription model which brings the cost down to only €30 a month. About 90% of all biostasis contracts are funded via a term life insurance model. Let's say you're 30 years old and you want to sign up. The first thing you need to do is sign up with Tomorrow Biostasis, and we automatically contract with our term life insurance partner for your coverage. Now, should you pass away during the coverage period, the term life insurance will cover 100% of the cryopreservation cost. You are protected from day one. Should you pass away after the coverage period, then unfortunately the term life insurance will not cover the cryopreservation cost. But of course there are other funding options for this situation as well. We make sure that our customers have everything in place well in advance. Furthermore, there is a high chance that prices will come down significantly in the future, as we work consistently to reduce the cost of a high-quality cryopreservation. Congratulations! You are now fully signed up. Now, should anything happen to you where current medical technology can't save you, like a terminal heart disease, cancer, or whatever it might be, and the worst case happens and you should die, our team stands ready to pick you up and bring you to a medical research institute that is equipped for cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is an advanced procedure that uses medical cryoprotectant solution and very low temperatures to protect your body, and most importantly your brain, the part that makes you, against degradation. We keep you safe and sound for however long it takes until medical technology will be advanced enough.
The street, we go to a nice restaurant. There will be 5 or 6 first dishes and second dishes as well. And remember to drink wine for wisdom, beer for freedom, and water for bacteria. So I recommend no water. The water is clean in Spain, but anyway, it's better wine and beer. Okay, so please bring everybody in. There are some people in the garden down there. Jappy, grab those people, please. And okay, so we have 3 fantastic people, 3 friends. We are going to begin. Jordi, if you come here to the back. Jordi was with me on TV yesterday. He is a very popular person now on TV. He was in Spanish national TV and on Spanish national radio. And she's leading the initiative to adopt or approve cryonics in the European Union. So he's going to tell us what is happening in that area. We have another fantastic lawyer who is my friend Carlos Rodriguez Sau. By the way, I forgot to tell you, we had another lawyer before who couldn't come. He's the most important lawyer in all of Spain. His name is Antonio Garrigues Walker. He wrote the epilogue of my book with David Wood, but he's 88, unfortunately, and his wife has Alzheimer's, so he couldn't come. But he sent us a 1-minute video, so during the day sometime I will show you his 1-minute video. Again, he's very important. He has the biggest, most important legal company in Spain. His company, as I mentioned, is small. It only sells 8 billion euros per year. So you can see it's the biggest law firm in all of Spain. And anyway, so that is talking more about lawyers. Jordi is also a lawyer, and he's an Alcor Payne member. And then we are going to finish with Ignacio Vivancos, who is an expert on insurance. Also, he supervised the translation of the book on insurance from Rudy Hoffman. We have some copies there. For those who speak Spanish, we have some copies of this fantastic book. In English, it's called Affordable Immortal, The Affordable Immortal. In Spanish, we translated it as Buscando la Inmortalidad. So there are a few copies there, 15 euros, if you are interested, please. Buscando la Inmortalidad, and Ignacio Vivanco actually revised the whole book. So we are so pleased to Ignacio that took the time to review all the book and the terms, everything in Spanish. So he will finish talking about insurance, and I actually like to say that right now we don't have life insurance. We have death insurance, because the insurance we have now is when you die. I want insurance so that we get cryopreserved. This is beginning already in California. In California, there are some companies actually that give you as one of the benefits cryonics insurance. This is the insurance we should have, which is really life insurance, not death insurance. So anyway, I'm really excited to see in person my friend Jordi Sandalinas, who was yesterday on TV and everything, and he's going to tell us the latest about his initiative about cryopreservation in Spain and in Europe. So, Jordi, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you so much, Jose, for giving me the floor. Well, I'll tell you a bit about myself. My name is Jordi Sandalinas. I started with cryopreservation and my interest in transhumanism and singularity when I was a long lawyer in this regard. I was attracted by H+ and the magazine and the movement on enhancements and how to improve the human condition. So after a few publications and an article I published on the H+ magazine called Interstellar Journeys, then I thought it was a good idea to enter into space and the notion of future. So further, some years later, I became an adjunct professor in, what, like this? All right. Some years later, I became an adjunct professor at the University of Madrid, where now I'm currently teaching space law and satellite law. And then some years later, I founded a course on drone law for the university, the Open University of Catalonia, where I'm currently teaching drone law. So the notion of future comes also with cryopreservation indeed, because we think of the future, we think that we would like to be reanimated in a planet free from wars, perhaps free from climate problems, and no sube más, gracias. And also free from sicknesses, if that's okay. That would be the romantic idea, the dream idea. So then, anyway, after some years, I founded the European Cryonic Law and Policy Research Initiative, because I thought as a lawyer that there was a need to harmonize the legal framework around Europe, because of course there are some legal issues that has to be related to the cryopreservation process called the SST. Namely, this acronym means more or less like storage, stabilization, transport. I would say there are more ideas behind this, and yeah. So I think that the need to reach to a common framework is essential in order to allow the transportation of the human remains. Currently, in Europe, we have a convention from 1973. This convention refers to the transfer of human remains and what are the requirements needed for that. So that's the first thing that we have to bear in mind, that there's a European Convention already enacted, but it has not been revised featuring the term cryonics. However, cryopreservation has been enacted in Spain. There's a royal decree from 2006 referring to cryopreservation but of embryos, as my colleagues have presented before. Embryos and cryopreservation is possible nowadays, but there's also a law regulating the procedure of cryopreservation for embryos and at cellular level. Anyway, I will go on with my ¿cuántos minutos tengo más o menos? Sí. Ah, vale. Perdón. Okay. So I will just give you a few remarks on this, because on cryopreservation before entering at the petition at the European level that I have submitted before the European Parliament. So we can speak that there's a law on cryopreservation. This law is at an early state. It is being developed. My colleague Carlos will refer to the national framework and its particularities. And of course, this law has several connections with family law, with other branches of law, such as civil law, company law, and administrative and European and international law. So we can also speak about potential targets and issues, such as how to tackle the extinction of personality, because when the legal status or the legal death has declared of an individual, then what happens and about his personality? Is it extinguished? Does it prevail anymore? So then, of course, as I referred before, there's a royal decree referring to cryopreservation of embryos that has been enacted, and it sets out all the requirements for an embryo to be cryopreserved. So law contemplates the technical matters, the technical staff. And so, but the current situation is that cryopreservation, of course, since it's a new approach towards humanity. By the way, now I recall that the term mankind is no longer viable. It's humankind, because as a space lawyer, we use that humankind is the new approach how to refer. Not anymore mankind, because it's out of date. With all my respects, but things change, society changes, and we deserve a better future with equality and a great environment. So then some questions that arise: is cryopreservation a fundamental right? Do we have the right to live? Can we, do we have the right to prevail? Higher? Lower? All right. Well, I'm a musician, what can I do? So I'm used to singing. Then can we refer to pre-mortem or post-mortem? Then we have the right to the latest technology, and we have the right to access to the latest cryopreservants and the cryoambulance. So the important thing, I consider the need to submit a petition before the European Parliament. As a petitioners, we have the right to ask to the European Parliament that the intervention of the European Commission, in case there's a state member of the European Union infringes some laws of the European Union. However, this is not the case. I also contemplated the possibility to ask the European Parliament to send a consult or like a mandate to the European Commission to study whether we have the possibility, featuring the current scenario, to create a framework, especially for cryonic. So at first it was just admitted, which is rare. Now it's the only petition on cryonics as a consequence of Article 1 that refers to the right of dignity, the right to decide what to do with our human remains after we pass away, and the second is the Article 8, which refers to the right of privacy, and also the right of correspondence, which vaguely has relations on the fact that we have to send our human remains from one country to another. Some months later, I received a letter from the European Parliament, it was concretely 19 September this year, and this letter contained a message that my petition had already been accepted by the European Parliament, in Spanish called admitido a trámite, and then such petition has been forwarded nowadays to the European Commission, and the Committee of Petitions has stated that they will study the right of dignity and whether the cryopreservation right is related to such right of dignity, and up to what extent we have the right to decide what to do with our bodies when we pass away, and then whether there's the need to create some soft law document on standards and so on. So this is history. I think that this is the fundamental of the future European cryonic law, and then we're almost there. So I thought that it was useless to send like a petition at the European level, but then it worked out. So whatever happens now, science has moved between error and mistake. So whatever happens, it will be a lesson learned. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we'll have the background to improve that initiative and to create a better writing for the next stages. Experiencing cryonic law, none. We are always learning from mistakes, and we are trying to push things forward to have our wishes protected by law in this regard. So the status: admitted, sent to the Commission for study at the Committee of Petitions, now moving forward. And let's see what happens. I'll keep you updated. Gone? No. F5. Okay. Sorry for that. All right, I think it's this one. Okay, so these are some examples of the legal framework in Spain, right, regarding the patient autonomy and euthanasia. But however, I would like you to think of something. I mean, we can induce a patient into a coma, and then the patient comes back. We can have a patient that is under a vegetative state and comes back afterwards, let's say, to normal life. What happens with his legal personality? I think my colleague will refer to such ideas afterwards. And I would like to set out that there are two conventions on human rights that are important at the European level. Those are the conventions that I have referred to. The European Charter on Fundamental Rights and the Human Convention on Human Rights. Siguiente, next slide. And yeah, there are some future concepts. Cryonic law is a law that is developing right now. Perhaps in the near future we have some smart capsules or smart cemeteries or smart places. It needs research, so it needs the investment of the stakeholders. So anyone interested in cryonics and the development of law, please contact me. And also, we need some consensus, some agreement in the whole framework. So new SST, well and better defined protocols, some cryotech, some cryolaws, and the need of a major interest of all the stakeholders. Well, I think Jose is doing an immense work, so thank you, Jose Luis Cordeiro. From me, it's a great job he's doing. So yeah, that would be it, I guess. Next. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for kindness. I'm sorry for these technical issues. I'll see you soon. Thank you. I'll give the floor to Carlos Rodriguez, my esteemed colleague, lawyer as well, so he'll show you the insights.
Sorry for this. You have two lawyers in a row.
Yeah. What a pain.
Okay. I'm talking about cryonics. So, well, I'm gonna go very fast because we have already some common places that we have discussed about what happens when someone dies, etc. So I'm just gonna go a very quick review and go into the radical thing. Okay, radical topics. Vale. ¿Ah, sí? Vale, fenomenal. Ah, soy de la fuente. ¿Y este? ¿Le doy?
Arriba, abajo. No, es casi lo sacas. Abajo es.
Ya está.
Joder.
Ya está. No, sí lo saco. Wow. Vale, aquí. Okay. So when we talk about law and cryonics, we have to understand that tradition in law is very important. So we have to understand what usually worry law about, cryonics, understanding that we're talking about the death, the moment of death. Because before we are dead, unfortunately, there is no legal system in the world that will allow you to get into a cryonics process for the moment. So first, everybody dies. That's what law thought. Everybody dies, so we have to do something about it. Yes, what are the effects? Who inherited what happened? It's not only that law or human observance experience says that everybody dies. It's like even mathematics says that. There is a law of 1825, Compe's law, that says that our probability to die duplicates every 8 years, and our chance to survive decreases super exponentially. That means that, okay, at the beginning of the age, you have a great chance to die, but as you get older, your chance of survival, the other ones, decreases dramatically. So, okay, let's say that nature, science, and law were all together. Everybody dies. So that was okay. Then there was one issue very important in back on the times. No one wants to be buried alive. That was a very, very, very concern in the old times. I mean, I have to say that it was even panic. I mean, in the old times, some people will ask that when I was kind of dead, please stab me through my heart to make sure that I'm not buried alive. And this is not a joke. This is the old chronicles. Or someone will say, please tie like a little, how to say, campana? A belt. So if I move and I'm inside something, someone will hear. And of course, there are some cases where, the dog, our best friends, was barking, when you were being taken to the cemetery. And yes, why he's barking so much? Because he's alive. The owner is alive. So they kind of, say, okay, sorry, guys, we were wrong. You were not dead. We were going to bury you alive. So that was what the basic principles of law are about it. The balance and the safeguards that apply to life is like life should be preserved. That's law. And personal freedom, well, I say this a little cold, that some countries apply some restriction to this principle about life should be preserved. Some regimes do not think about that. And then personal freedom is not an absolute individual right over your own life and body. That's probably all the legal system stuff like that. On the other side, death is irreversible and extinguishes human personalities in all forms. We all know all that. And death has to be formally declared. We cannot let someone say that you are dead, because then we'll have a lot of more assassination taking place, and we have to be sure that you are dead and has to be done in a process. Okay, so what types of death there are? Well, we have seen the statistical death is that you will definitely be dead sooner or later, 100% probability. So that's a fact, right? But then are different deaths that has to be taken into account when we are talking about plan B. First, clinical. This is a commonplace. Basically, when there is absence of cardiorespiratory vital activity, biological, basically, when the brain has no emphatic function and has been deprived, the cells start to die. Legal. When you legally die, when the law says so, and we change. Depends. And we have evolved basically from not being very alive to consider your body as a confirmed organ donor. That's now the criteria. I mean, we have to tell you are legally dead, and what all the criteria are is in the organ donor legislation. That they say that we have to fight for your life until there is no chance, and then when you are dead, we take your donors, that means your organs, as fast as we can. It's like that, you know? So in Spain, what is a case study we cannot do, but you say like, if you consent to go for a heart transplant during the undergoing surgery, you are, well, A, always alive, B, half dead, because you are dead, one of the categories, but not all, completely dead. Your only hope is reanimation, Jose Luis, no resurrection. Not dead, not alive, like the Schrodinger's cat, who will know once you get out of the surgery, and none of the above. The funny thing of this, we're not gonna do it, is like, the law has changed, and when you were going through a heart transplant and you were under 32 degrees temperature, corporal temperature, you theoretically the surgery had killed you, literally, according to the law. So they have to change it because we don't want to kill you in a surgery transplant. So, so what are the interactions of death? And I come to the topic: clinical death, legal death, biological death. Legal death is a conventional use. We can move it to the left, move it to the right. So to the left and close to clinical death, it may be better for organ donation or potentially cryopreservation. I mean, we want to be cryopreserved as soon as we have died. And to the right, it's more irreversible, but also it's a bullet for you. It's like they will always try to reanimate you. And think of an accident. I mean, you want to be cryopreserved, but you are in a car accident. Well, I hope they try to, you know, reanimate you so you can live on and maybe cryopreserve later. So this is the common place. All of lawyers, I mean now, 6 years ago, this was not a common conversation, now it's a common conversation. All of the lawyers can tell you that, well, I mean, if you try to get killed and in terms of going first to the cryopreservation status is considered like an homicide or assistance to suicide. And of course, the only limited exception is euthanasia. And after legal death, what happens is, well, we already know, because you are not lawyers, but you have heard so many times that you already know. Personal identity vanishes, legal succession takes place, and the corpse has no rights. So we cannot even decide what is the destiny of our rest, okay? At this point, the conversation is always, how can we adapt the legal concept of death to try to, you know, fit with the plan B? And 2 points, basically. How can I say before I die what I want to happen? And secondly, how could I try to make this decision not before I'm ready to die? I mean, the question that is happening now is if we apply euthanasia criteria to approach to a moment where we can control when we're going to die, which is a good thing because that means that you are not going to be in an accident and you are going to be in a place near Alcor or wherever facility to help you through the process. I am in a terminal condition, so I've been suffering and probably my body is quite damaged. So I guess that's not the real debate. Why am I saying that? Because I have to tell you I was with Jose Luis and with all these people, Maria Blasco, Bride Gray, Fari, Ramon Risco, Spisua, 6 years ago in this international summit, science, in Spain, and my presentation was quite the same as today. Only the euthanasia has changed. So we have not really evolved. I mean, Jordi Sandarina says I'm a pessimist. I know I'm saying that I am realistic. And David Wood said that Spain should take the lead in the parts of one of the challenges, which will be try to change the law. Well, I think the debate is this, and this is my closing comment, 2 more minutes. The debate is about what legally requires cryopreservation to be connected to the basic human right of never give up life. Our chance is like, yeah, we are legally death, but we know that death, legal death is a conventionalist, and it changes from time to time. So what it is death today could be tomorrow be suspended situation or whatever. Or if you want to call me legally dead, but you still let me do some things, I agree on that. So what's the real challenge? I'm sorry, this is a typical lawyer's presentation. This is all I will say. I would say, like, basically we cannot fight law about changing what society understands as has to happen. You have to be legally dead before you are cryopreserved, because that's the status. And it's very, very hard to change that. Your initiative is trying to change what's happened later to the courts. But even he's not fighting to just, let me die whenever I want, because that's another debate. So the debate is, why don't we regulate cryopreservation? I'm sure all who are here, stakeholders of cryopreservation, here, you use what the lawyer is saying, getting here judges, etc. Yeah, I'm saying kind of that. But why? Because if we understand that we regulate as a last personal right, the donation of the own body to the investigation and development of cryopreservation as a first stage, and maybe eventually for being a potential subject of future technology, second stage, we are starting to go through a way that the law is empathetic to that. But what do you want? I want to do a specific little piece. It's like, I want that my rest, my corpse, is, has a certain destiny, and is for science, and it's good for life, because cryopreservation is a good technology for life. So that's the way. And also, we should regulate what criteria should the cryopreservation activities have in order, for instance, to be considered as a good destiny, legal destiny for those bodies. Because that changes a lot. It means, like, if you comply with certain regulations, like, as a cemetery, if you comply with certain regulations, a cryopreservation facility, people can donate the body to you and probably be funded for that. Should we also integrate, like, cryopreservation processes in a hospital? I mean, it's a standard, you already said that, but should we do it according to medical standards? Of course, some medics are going to say, well, you are dead. What are you talking about? Well, I mean, you have processes to conserve samples, cells. Let's apply the state of art in a regulated standard process. And let's do it. And maybe some hospitals, maybe the hospitals who are, by the way, funded by cryopreservation funds, start to have that process as part of the last stage. Okay? But also, let's go, I'm sorry, I'm going over this. No. Let's go to, could private funding instruments be secure? I mean, be structured as security finances for cryopreservation facilities, but under, the regulator of finance. I mean, that means that I put in some funds, but it's not like I'm having a private contract with, a company. No. It's like an institution who is regulated, who has certain limits, and who has to do certain things, and is under supervision that has to take these funds and invest it in a way. And also it's a way of saving too. Could also insurance, industry be authorized for a thing that cannot do that now? Is like issuing recovery life policies where the potential benefactor will be, the individually, legally dead, but who has sent his body to a cryopreserved facilities. So could he have some right to be beneficial of that? Could individuals on a mutual model structure, I don't know if that's English, sorry. Like when you associate to finance a building, for a house, and gather to set up a cryopreservation facility. Could, I get with friends and say, I want to do, and this cryopreservation facility is going to follow the law and work for my own interest, no? The last and not the least, there is also a lot of mechanisms that they are already enforced in the law, that deal with missing people who materialize back. Also, there are legal vehicles, that last forever in terms that they have no end. I mean, personality lasts forever. Future laws is considering extended human rights to animals, or to even, we're talking about on European level, electronic persons. What's that? Artificial intelligence, some other things, robots, maybe. Could that be explored to set minimum core of rights to the bodies that undergo a regulated cryopreservation activity? So what I'm saying is that instead of fighting, the legal concept of death and we want to be, cryopreserved as soon as possible. Let's start by building an environment where society and also, well, the one who are early adopters have mechanisms to start doing things that are, supervised, structured, and how I can say, they are normal for the rest of people. So somehow I am normalizing this activity instead of fighting the main concept like, we don't want to die. Well, I don't want to discuss with you. I'm legally dead, fine, I'm legally dead. But before I'm legally dead, I want to be able to do all of that. And I want to have access to some instruments that are going to take care of my dream. And if the miracle happens, you call it a miracle, I call it like it's some technology still not discovered, then I will have a way, to give more chances to my survival and also to my recovery. That was all, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for participants and for the audience who is connected now on streaming. But I'm going to make the presentation in Spanish. It's more comfortable for me. Merci pour tous les participants connectés. Mais je vais faire en espagnol parce que c'est plus confortable pour moi. Bueno, pues a mí me toca hablar un poco de la parte, me voy a presentar a la compañía. Nara Seguros es el embrión o la segunda parte de la primera compañía que hubo en España de seguros de venta online. No sé si se me oye así bien o tengo que... Perdón, decía, Nara Seguros es la segunda parte de la primera compañía que hubo en España de venta de seguros online. Bueno, es una aventura que llevamos solamente 2 años. Pertenecemos a la Hermandad Nacional de Arquitectos, al grupo HNA, con una facturación de 500 millones de euros en cifra de negocio, 5.000 millones de euros en capital gestionado. Y bueno, al final somos una de las pequeñitas, ¿no? Que es lo que vengo a contar del sector seguros, que es lo que yo creo importante. Yo soy el director comercial de la compañía. Yo creo que personalmente dentro del sector seguros hay que estar interesado en no solamente en lo que es la propia técnica aseguradora, sino de todas las tecnologías que van llegando a la realidad, como es la cadena de bloques, blockchain, como es el tema de la inteligencia artificial, machine learning, etcétera, etcétera. Y como decía, pues me toca la parte, yo creo, un poco menos romántica y como soñadora, pero que veréis que yo creo que es fundamental, que efectivamente es el dinero. Es decir, como por ahora, desgraciadamente, luego ya cuando seamos otro tipo de entes, pues no lo sé, pero por ahora como las cosas pues la pagamos con dinero, pues claro, hay que tener pasta para pagar esto, cada vez, como dice José Luis, menos, pero por ahora pues hay que tenerla, ¿no? ¿Y por qué? Pues por 2 cosas, porque como bien decía Carlos, hay que pagar al Alcor o a las instituciones que haya, 2 en América, una en Suiza, me parece que en Rusia está también una de las instituciones. Una, hay que pagarla cuando la palmas, y 2, porque, hombre, como esto lo hacemos para que nos salga bien, pues hay que prever que salga bien. Y claro, si sale bien, renaces en la institución que hayamos conseguido en España tener, pues vamos a poner en el desierto de los monegros y amanecemos ahí con una mano delante y otra detrás, pues hombre, yo personalmente revivir para estar así, pues casi como que no. Y lo que hay que tener es un capital, ¿no? O sea, quiero decir, y esto es lo que están haciendo ya los americanos, lo que decía José Luis Cordeiro de Rady Hoffman, que lo está haciendo en Estados Unidos para las 2 vías, ¿no? Tanto para pagar al Alcor o a la institución que toque cuando haya que pagarle toda la técnica de criopreservación, como cuando revivamos, pues tener algo de pasta para podernoslo pasar bien, mientras se siga pagando todo con dinero, que vete tú a saber. Bien. Dice, si esto es posible, pues efectivamente, como digo, sí es posible, los americanos lo están haciendo, en lo que es el sector seguros, como en tantas otras, pero en lo que a mí me atañe, la industria americana va bastante por delante de nosotros en capacidad de adaptarse a las novedades. Entonces, en este caso, sí es posible hacerlo desde el seguro. Como voy a intentar ir un poco más deprisa que mis anteriores compañeros, muy rápido. Seguro, lógicamente, es la indemnización cuando nos ocurre algo, cuando sobrevivimos a un evento que hemos asegurado. En este caso, como dice José Luis, el seguro de vida es justo lo contrario, es un seguro de muerte. Es decir, cuando la palmo a alguien, le doy mi dinero porque lo quiero que lo tenga, si lo he elegido bien. Bueno, aunque lo haya elegido mal, le va a ir a la persona, ¿no? En este caso es cuando muera, mi dinero se lo tengo que dar a quien yo haya dicho pensando que voy a revivir. Y entonces son dos cosas. Seguirá siendo un seguro de muerte o un seguro de mientras entro a ser paciente, ¿no? que llamamos en la criogenización cuando entras en el periodo de criopreservación, y luego en que se constituya con un capital. Bueno, esto son dos partes muy sencillas. Es el seguro de vida de toda la vida, que efectivamente tiene razón José Luis, que lo deberíamos llamar seguro de muerte, y luego el seguro de vida ahorro. Es decir, dentro de la parte de los seguros de vida hay otros seguros que constituyo un capital para cuando sobreviva que me lo paguen, ¿vale? Para esto hay productos que quienes estéis que son más habituales de ver, porque lo tienen las entidades bancarias, los planes de previsión asegurados, los PPA, los IALP, los PIA, son productos que nos dan el dinero cuando sobrevivimos al efecto de la póliza. Es decir, ya hay un momento en el que si sobrevives al efecto de la póliza que tú te has marcado a un año, un depósito a un año, con un componente asegurador, con un capital asegurado, es un seguro de supervivencia. Es decir, si pasa un año y sobrevivo, si muero, me van a dar el capital que invertí más lo que haya rentado hasta el mes 3 de 12. Pero si sobrevivo a los 12, se cumple lo que me prometieron. Me dan el dinero más la rentabilidad que he constituido o que tenía el producto, ¿vale? Esto es un poco más técnico, pero es la parte desde la que se hacen estas pólizas. Es decir, ya está inventado, lo que pasa es que hay que darle la vuelta. Pues a lo mejor hay que llamarle, en vez de seguro de vida, seguro de que muero y de que revivo. Y entonces tengo que constituir las dos cosas, ¿vale? A lo mejor hay que llamarlo desde ahora, desde otro prisma, ¿no? Como decía, al final esto es contextualizar un poco lo que es el sector seguros. Hasta aquí, bueno, el PowerPoint es por traer algo porque no suelo hacerlo con PowerPoint. Hasta aquí normalmente la gente, tenéis que entender una cosa también, por favor, para hacer de evangelistas los que estáis aquí y los que nos estén viendo por streaming, de todo esto, nosotros nos es muy natural porque estamos en ponencias, vemos libros, tal, no sé qué. Esto cuando lo cuentas a la gente de tu entorno, se quedan así. Esto es en los años 60, 70 con las gafas 3D, o sea, se quedan como si estuvieras hablando de los extraterrestres. Entonces, hay que bajarlo un poco al lenguaje normal si queremos que la cosa avance. Decía que quería contextualizar el volumen del sector seguros, que es importante, porque es verdad que es un sector que se ve casposo de narices, y lo es. O sea, que es un sector triste, un sector pues, que antiguamente íbamos con manguitos, ahora yo tengo que venir con una americana, es un sector tristote, ¿no? Pero representa el 5% del Producto Interior Bruto, son 61.000 millones de euros de primas solo en España que pagamos los españoles por seguros, 23.000 de los cuales se pagan para seguros de vida, que es una barbaridad. Estos son fuentes de ICEA, que son las estadísticas oficiales. De no vida, que sería seguros de coche, seguros de hogar, seguros de la mascota, seguros de tal, 38.000 millones, una barbaridad. 9.000 solamente de seguros de salud, y solamente en España tenemos en Madrid más, 36% en Madrid, 27% en España, de gente con seguro de salud, y aún así ya son 9.000 millones de primas, y volumen de ahorro de que podría ser este dummy, ¿no?, que está aquí, podría ser al que le estamos gestionando su ahorro para que cuando se convierta en un tío que vuelve a andar en los monegros tenga algo de pasta. Ese capital son 195.000 millones de euros de primas. Perdón, esto por si se le dormían. Tal. ¿Por qué contextualizar esto? O sea, es decir, el sector seguros es tristote, se parece que vaya rollo los seguros, pero es un sector que siempre ha estado al lado de la sociedad, protegiéndole de aquello que la sociedad necesitaba cubrirse, si era necesario. Han dicho antes, el panel anterior, alguna de las técnicas que fueron llegando y que no estaban contempladas ni en la sociedad ni en los seguros. La anestesia, como tal, estaba prohibida antes del siglo XX. Lógicamente, ahora cualquier seguro, bueno, no cualquier seguro de salud, cualquier médico no se plantea no anestesiar y, lógicamente, todos los seguros de salud pues tampoco nos lo planteamos, ¿no? Los trasplantes estuvieron prohibidos como tal. Pero es que puedo decir más cosas solo del seguro de salud y la inducción al coma, garantías que ahora están incluidas en los seguros de salud sin necesidad de que se nos pregunte, oye, ¿cómo veis este debate? Tal. Nosotros, el sector no entra en debates morales. Puedes entrar en una mesa que te pregunten si quieres participar en un debate moral, pero es otra cosa particular. O sea, aquí no se trata, igual que desde la parte legal, mi opinión, de entrar en ningún debate, ni moral, ni más que si la sociedad, y para eso es lo que decía antes, hay que evangelizar, llega a esta realidad, hay que acompañarla como la hemos acompañado. Terapias genéticas que ahora están incluidas, nos parece muy normal. Hace 20 años ni un seguro de salud incluía terapias genéticas. Detección de herencias patológicas, cada vez las estamos... estudio del genoma, todas estas cosas que cada vez incluimos más. Hace 20 años nadie sabía que era esto y nadie lo incluía gratis en las... Vamos, gratis, por la prima que pagábamos en las pólizas. Muy rápido. Este es importantísimo, lo ha dicho José Luis, creo que se ha comentado en la mesa anterior. Hace 45 años solamente no estaban incluidas en las pólizas de deceso la cremación. Las pólizas de decesos, nuestros padres y abuelos las tenía todo el mundo y no excluía la cremación porque hasta 45 o 50 años estaba fatal vista por la Iglesia Católica. El 60% de los que morimos ahora, de los que vamos a morir, nos incineramos y, lógicamente, todas las pólizas de decesos las incluyen. Es decir, que es en los 10-12 minutos que no quiero estar más, creo que es importante que el seguro, como decía antes Carlos, que el seguro tengamos el apoyo, pero que participemos en estas mesas, en este caso el de salud y vida, porque sin entrar en la moralidad de ni lo que tiene que hacer o no tiene que hacer la sociedad, siempre hemos estado al lado de ella, siempre hemos apoyado, hemos protegido, hemos generado un bienestar a base de generar un marco protector. Yo creo que, y es por lo que venimos desde Nara Seguros, porque, y antes por eso decía lo de la primera compañía que vendió online seguros de salud cuando no se podía, ahora ya vendemos vida también en online. Yo creo que participar en estas mesas hay que hacer el esfuerzo y el placer, por supuesto, pero de estar, aunque todavía no haya mercado ni que nos genere euros de ingreso, para poder estar tendentes y en la actualidad de lo que va pasando. Esta es, a ver si funciona, esta es muy... esta decía... A ver, si va. ¿No va? Perdón. Sí. Bueno, si estás un segundo. No hay sonido, ¿no? Bueno, pues no hace falta. Esto es, mientras lo cuento rápido. Esto es el deepfake. Esto es, Morgan Freeman no está hablando, Morgan Freeman es el que está hablando es el actor, el señor de abajo, y Morgan Freeman dice lo que dice el señor de abajo con la voz de Morgan Freeman. Esto es lo que hicieron para Obama, los montajes que le montaron a Obama intentando la competencia, vamos, en las elecciones. Quiero decir que lo que hacían era esas noticias falsas a base de ponerle. Es precioso porque es la voz de Morgan Freeman, tal, no sé quién, lo que dice. Efectivamente, no soy yo, no soy Morgan Freeman, esto no es real. ¿Cuál vas a creer ahora? Lo que estás viendo, lo que tus sentidos creen que es un efecto del PowerPoint simplemente para divertir un rato. Si esto es posible, ¿cómo no va a ser posible esto que estáis hablando y que tantos expertos están hablando sobre ello? Y al final, como decían en $1 Million Baby, yo creo que para evangelizar y creérnoslo, al final es la magia, ¿no?, de apostarlo todo por... Ahora vuelve. Es la magia de apostarlo todo por un sueño que no ve nadie, excepto nosotros, que aunque estemos aquí muchos, de todos los miles de millones de población que hay, pues por ahora no lo ven, ¿no? Muchas gracias.
Voy, sí. Okay, well, these are fantastic presentations, and I truly admire my three friends here because I have the pleasure to know them for some time. And what Jordi is doing at the European Union level is fantastic, fantastic. I need to take my chapeau because you are doing this for all of Europe. So we need to be very thankful, and we need to support that. We need to sign his petition for the European level, and then also do it here in Spain with our lawyers. We have 5 lawyers here, including a gringo lawyer, Paul Spiegel, that will be speaking this afternoon. Paul Spiegel, our also lawyer in longevity and cryonics. Carlos, also fantastic. He has been an eye-opener to the legal system in Spain. And I should not say this, but he's a partner at Anderson Legal Tech. But he's speaking on his own. He's not speaking in name of any companies. But he has been pushing for these ideas a long, long time. And then obviously what Ignacio is doing, it is truly incredible also to bring these ideas with an insurance company. And maybe we will have insurance for cryonics, real life insurance. So we are really, really thankful. And actually I was talking to people from Santa Lucia, and they said, you know, small companies, we don't worry about them. I think they should worry about them because this is disruption, and disruption comes from the outside. So anyway, because we are running late, and I love them all, but we don't have time, and we are going to have lunch all together in the restaurant across the street, and the day is beautiful. But we have a very important presentation now from Ashwin de Wolf, who is also an incredible scientist. And I love what he's doing. I quote him extensively. I am actually working on a book about biostasis, not cryonics anymore. Remember, now it is biostasis because the Europeans use it in the Netherlands, in Germany, in Switzerland, also here in Spain. In fact, we are going to write the Wikipedia article about biostasis in Spanish. Now it is only in English and in Dutch. So we want to have it in Spanish as well, because biostasis is much more comprehensive. It includes cryonics, it includes hibernation, it includes persuflation. We will have tomorrow the first presentation in history about persuflation by Tanya Jones. Incredible presentation, persuflation, and then we also have plastination, and we have vitrification, and probably we will have something else next year. So this is very interesting. So I want to say thank you to our speakers. And Ashwin is next. So Ashwin, you know, really fantastic. I also have to thank Ashwin for another thing he did several years ago. He created the Scientist Open Letter to support cryonics. This is an incredible document. An incredible document. In fact, we have translated that into Spanish, and we have reproduced that in the book. In the book that I mentioned, the Affordable Immortable, we have put in the epilogue his petition of open scientists. So this is an incredible effort that he's doing. Also, I had the pleasure to have been with him in New York in February 23rd. I remember February 23rd of this year for the 50th anniversary of Alcor Life Extension Foundation, the longest foundation, cryonics foundation in the planet. And he organized this book, Cryostasis Revival. By the way, it has been on TV now. I was with Europa Press. You know, this is the big Spanish international news. And I showed his book. Well, he's the coordinator. The book was written by another friend of transhumanists like Natasha, Paul, and myself, Robert Freitas. And the prologue, as